All right, I think we are live. Welcome to another Matt Maran Motoring live stream here on the Matt Maran Motoring YouTube channel. Hope you're all having a great weekend and a great holiday here so far. And thanks so much for joining in here for the last live stream of 2023. And so, like all the other live streams, I'll be giving priority answering to anyone who has a super chat or a super thanks, as well as anyone who's a member. And we'll probably go for about 2 hours. We'll see, just how busy this live stream is tonight. If it's a little slower, which is my guess, but we'll see. But if it is, then maybe we'll end a little earlier. We'll see. But we'll keep answering questions as long as they keep coming in. So anyway, thanks for joining in. Kevin from Florida, Kyle from New Jersey, Jasbo, Ludicrous Fool, Vishal, and Cars, and Relevant Specs, and Gesm from Dallas. Thanks for joining in, everyone. And so Vishal is the first question here. He says, is the Volkswagen Jetta being redesigned for 2025? I'll be in the market for a car next year. Currently driving a 2016 Passat that will be passed down to my younger brother. Thoughts on the current Jetta? I actually really like the current Jetta. I think it's a solid little car, one of the few that you can get with a manual transmission still. And with the Jetta, it's kind of unique because you can get the manual with a turbo, whereas like the Civic forces you to get it with the naturally aspirated motor. So I think there's kind of a unique appeal there for the Jetta. I spent a week with a Jetta back in 2018, I think it was. So it's been a while. I've been trying to get the refresh version, but it's not in my press fleet currently, but might review one in 2024. We'll see. But I really like the Jetta. I think it's a solid little car for the money, good amount of space. Yeah, I mean, I think as far as a redesign in 2025, I'm not sure, what the deal is. A lot of these sedans is kind of up in the air because, it's kind of like, are they even going to do another one? Are they not? Is it just going to be some kind of electric thing? Especially with Volkswagen Group, and then now it seemed like the safe bet was maybe there will be some type of electric version down the road or something. But then, we're hearing all these plans of everyone like maybe pushing back their EV rollout a little bit. So I don't know when a redo is coming for the Jetta. With the refresh that just happened, maybe it's the 2023 model year, but it's been a very recent refresh. I am assuming it's got a couple more years to go. So I'm not sure when new Jetta is coming, if it's even coming at all. No guarantees there. So if you like the current Jetta, I would just go for that. Maybe do a short-term lease if you're thinking there's something new on the horizon potentially, and just go from there. But best of luck in your decision there. And yeah, I think the Jetta is a good little car though. And thanks so much. Also, I see Yavinder and B. Mitchell and Mark, Vayetzi, Andre and Linda and Cam. Thanks for joining in, everyone. So I see B. Mitchell's from Minnesota here, and Yavinder's from Canada, which is awesome. And Mark is tuning in from North Carolina. And Vayetzi says finally tuning into one of these. Thanks for joining. And let me see. Andre's from LA, and Linda says, "Good evening, Matt. Merry Christmas. I love the Mustang review from a fan who lent you his car." Yeah, that was great. I was very, very grateful. I didn't think I was going to get a Mustang review in this year for the 2024, and then a very kind owner offered me his, and I was like, "Yep, that is worth the trip." I was wasn't too bad of a trip, but about close to 7 hours round trip to go out there and back to film that, but it was totally worth it, and happy I finally got new experience in 2024s. And Evander says, heard McLaren got bought by some foreign company. Yeah, it sounds like it's like an actual, like it's a trust fund kind of thing. That's an actual like single person that bought the whole company essentially. I haven't read too much about that, honestly. I haven't had much time to read into that since that just came out, but be interesting. I mean, I guess, as long as there's someone who's got decently deep pockets, if it'll put McLaren in a better position than they are currently with being cash strapped. And you can tell by, the GTS I just covered in yesterday's live stream, and, with the 750S or whatever they're calling the, lightly refreshed 720S, I think an infusion of money is definitely what they need right now. So hopefully that does that for them. And yeah, so it's very interesting that happened though. And Goth Rocker, thanks for joining in. Richie said, hello, made it. Merry Christmas and happy holidays from PA. Thanks for joining in on the other side of PA there. And I see Steve also says, Merry Christmas, Team Maran. I appreciate it. And let me see some other questions here. So Cam says, not for nothing, I'm really upset with the markup cost for the 2024 Civic Si Type R and Integra Type S. It's so difficult to get my hands on one. Yeah, it's a shame that's still happening. I mean, Honda sales, like their volume has been way up the past few quarters here. I mean, they're getting a ton of inventory in. Now, Type R and Integra Type S, I'm sure, is going to be limited regardless, but I'm hoping that at least SI situation's gotten better with markups. I haven't been shopping like you have, so maybe it's not the case. But the only thing I can really say is to try and do a trip if you can. Expand your search radius out as far as you need to. And hopefully, there is a dealer that's decent. Even if you got to drive a couple of days, it's awesome doing a road trip in a brand new car. It's so much fun. Obviously it takes time, and that's not a privilege that everyone has to just, take a few days to do a road trip. But if you are in the position where, you could swing that, I think, just keep expanding that search radius out. Call dealers and, hang up on the ones that give you a markup, and then just keep on calling until you find one that's going to be decent. I'm convinced that not every single Honda dealer does markups. There are MSRP Honda dealers. They're just not very common. And, you might be waiting a long time for some of the stuff, but SIs are, high enough volume. I would like to think that you're not going to have to wait that long on a wait list at a decent dealer for an SI. I could be wrong though, but hopefully you can find one relatively soon here. And it's a shame that it's such a pain. Let me see. Boss Move says, how do you like the new Camry? It's pretty impressive from what we've seen so far. I haven't driven it yet. That'll come next spring, I think. Yeah, so far it seems pretty impressive. You can check out my walk around video of the Camry. I give all my thoughts on it there. If you missed that one, give all my info in that. Jewel says, hooray, I'm happy I made it to the last live talk of 2023. Thanks for joining in, Jewel. Ludicrous Fool says, Matt, if you were to pick either the Civic Type R or Integra Type S, which one would you choose and why? If money were no object, I would choose the Type S, just because I personally like a little bit more luxury. I mean, who doesn't, I guess. But so to me, that's the one that I also like the looks of it a little bit better. Civic Type R looks great too, but man, whenever that Integra Type S in blue showed up, I mean, that was a stunner. I mean, I would just like stare at it the entire time I was walking away from it. Every time I parked that thing, it was just like really good looking. So to me, it'd be Integra Type S. And I think that just for the sound alone, I'd probably pay the few grand extra, just because it's nice having, the kind of active exhaust kind of thing. You can, I guess, get an active exhaust on a Type R aftermarket if you wanted, but I don't know. I love the Type R too. So it's really a no wrong answer kind of question in my opinion, but I think Type S is the one that I would pick. SMD says, what's up, Matt? Checking in. Thanks for joining in, SMD. And Hugo says, hey, Matt, hope everything's all good. Yeah, can't wait for you to drive my BMW Z3. Yeah, Hugo just picked up a manual, I think 2000 Z3. And so hopefully next spring or summer here, we'll be able to meet up and do a review on that. So stay tuned for that if you're a fan of the Z3. And thanks so much for the offer, Hugo. And thanks for joining in here as well. And Ludicrous Fool says, it's amazing how much of a step up the recent Corolla and Camry are from the previous generations. And the GR Corolla, that seems like a fantastic car. Yes, GR Corolla is still one of my favorite things I got to drive or live with this year. I reviewed it, back last year, but that was one of the highlights of this year for sure. And I'll be talking more about my highlights in this coming weekly update, which was kind of be like a top 10 reviews of the year for me personally, the top 10 things I like, not 10 best objectively, but just as far as my personal favorites. And so that'll be a fun little look back on the year. But GR Corolla is definitely going to make the list, spoiler alert there. But yeah, I think Toyota's really on a tear with all the great improvements they've made recently. And SMD says, thoughts on the Kia Sportage? Hard to find the SX Prestige. Sportage seems great. It might be hard to find them now since they'll be doing the switch over, in a couple of months for the new refreshed version. That might be part of why maybe there's not a ton of supply out there, but that's kind of surprising. You'd think they usually like drown the dealers in a ton of vehicles right towards the end there to, try and sell the old ones before the average person realizes there's a new one out there. But I like the Sportage. I think the only thing about the Sportage with the turbo ones, some people were having issues with the 8-speed dual clutch in those in particular. I remember, I think maybe it was Motor Trend or someone had a long-term tester that I think gave him some transmission problems. So I would just, do a little more research on that just to make sure. Otherwise, the Sportage is great. I think it's, for one of these like in between kind of crossovers, it's not a full size, huge 3-row thing, but not a 2-row thing because it has the third row. It's an actual usable third row. And that's kind of rare. So, I think the Sportage is kind of very uniquely positioned. Actually, Sportage, I'm thinking of Sorrento. Never mind. I take that back. So Sportage is the Tucson thing. Mix those up. Sportage is great as well. I did the hybrid early this year. That was great. I think Sportage is also really good. I think these days the interior is better in the Sportage than the Tucson, because the Tucson's kind of got the more dated thing now until that refresh comes here early next year. But Sportage is really good. I see tons of Sportages around everywhere, at least around here. So they're very popular, and I'm guessing it's for good reason. I really liked it. I think I had no complaints with it, really. Aside from no wireless CarPlay, but you can fix with a little dongle if you really want. But that's the only thing about it that was, even a slight drawback. And Brothers on Wheels says, any take on the Matt Farah and Jason Camisa podcast over the Cybertruck? Have you seen it yet? I haven't had a chance to sit down and listen to that. But that's one I want to listen to it, because I heard kind of, the little bit of the drama I just saw on Instagram, and I'm curious to hear them duke it out and see, what ended up playing out there. Because, it was an interesting situation. And I've read a little bit, but I'd have to listen to the podcast to give an intelligent opinion on the situation currently, obviously. So I guess I won't comment on that anymore. But it's kind of interesting. I read an article about like kind of defending, Jason Camisa's take on it, and I kind of agree that sometimes there is a peril to the access in regards to if you are one of these very few people selected to drive something. That kind of, even if there isn't any explicit thing said, it's like, well, if you're getting that access kind of is a way that you could potentially be compromised. It doesn't mean you are. It just means that you are put in that position where you have to really it tests you. Like, if you really don't care about burning that bridge and truly saying whatever you want, which I believe is Jason Camisa's, he's a big shot enough that he can say whatever he wants, to manufacturers. And I think he's pretty safe no matter what. And so that's one of the luxuries of having that position. Same thing with, the Top Gear guys for years. They destroyed cars. There's so many stories of them, just getting a car to review, a nice car. I don't know if they completely destroyed a Koenigsegg. I know the Stig put one into a wall way back when, but I think they I can't remember what it was. Maybe it was Bentley that said, it was Bentley. Bentley provided them with a car for one of their challenge things, and it actually had to be totaled out whenever they brought it back, even though there wasn't any physical crash. They just beat it up so badly. But yet Bentley still, worked with Top Gear for all those years. So once you get to a big enough point of the Camisa level, I think you can kind of do whatever you want anyway. So that's why I think, even though some of the stuff did seem like an ad in the video and stuff, I think he truly is genuine in saying I will say whatever I'm going to say, because he's always been brutally honest. Kind of I kind of view myself in the same kind of light where it's I don't care. And I think he's kind of in the same boat where he doesn't care. Obviously I have more to lose than he does, because again, he's, the top dog, and I could potentially be cut off from stuff, but no one's ever done that to me. It's kind of funny. I said all those negative things about the Z Nismo in my review, because it was just a disappointing car for me in so many ways. But thankfully, Nissan actually sent me a Christmas card this year, and I'm booked in a Sentra for early next year. So either they don't watch the channel and they're just blindly sending stuff, or they've seen it and they're cool with criticism, which I would like to think is the actual result of that. And that gives me a lot of respect for a company whenever they can, take the criticism, especially when it's fair criticism. I don't, if I'm having a bad day, I'm not just going to rant on a car. I'm always trying to support my criticisms, and same with Jason Camisa. If he finds something that sucks about a car, he will tell you. And if not, then, that's it. And I think maybe he just happened to get one of the perfect Cybertrucks that doesn't have issues, that's really good. And I'm sure there's a lot of really impressive things about it. And, so even though it's one of those things where it could get sketchy because you are such one of a very few amount of people selected, I think, out of all the reviews out there on the Cybertruck, he would be the one that I would probably trust the most, to be totally honest, out of the few that are out there so far. Not that the others aren't trustworthy, but just, I've met Camisa. We, on the GT500 launch, me and him were chatting the entire night. He was super cool, but he's very, very kind of like myself, very no filter in a lot of ways. And so I very much trust, his take on stuff. And if he truly says, there is no BS there in the Cybertruck review, then I am 100% going to believe him, because, he seems like a very trustworthy guy in my opinion. So that's my take on that, again, without listening to the podcast. But I think I'm in the Camisa camp, I guess you could say, of, giving him the benefit of the doubt there. And Raphael, thanks for making it. I appreciate it. He says, hello, everyone. Goth Rocker says, top reviews you did this year on performance side have to be the Corvette Z06, Chrysler 300, Raptor R, Integra Type S, new 2024 Mustang. Those are probably safe bets. I haven't compiled the list yet, so I can't honestly even say, because I always have to go back and remind myself, because I've done, probably, what have I done? Probably over 100 cars this year. So I have to go back and kind of refresh my own memory. Again, there are some standouts there, but there's some others that might be surprised. I like usually sneaking in a few little surprises of cars people wouldn't expect. It's not just the fastest stuff I reviewed this year, but some stuff that might have just surprised me that I wasn't expecting to be surprised by or impressed by, and so we'll have to wait and see what the final list ends up being here next week. And Goth Rock also says, best reviews on the practical side, enjoyed the Crosstrek, the new Mitsubishi Outlander, and the Toyota Prius, and the Crown also. Well, thanks for telling me the ones that you liked as well. I appreciate that. It's great to get that feedback. And Yavinder says, I think I saw a post on Instagram about Audi slowing down on EV vehicles. What are your thoughts on that? So I don't know the full situation there to say confidently exactly what's going on there. And I'm not even sure the sources of that report as far as how credible all that stuff is. So I need to look into that more. And that might be something, I don't know if I'll touch on it next week, if next week's just kind of a look back video, but maybe the first one of 2024, I'll cover that a little bit more and try and dig into that a little bit more myself. It's really tricky with all of these EV slowdown stories, because sometimes there's a kernel of truth there, but then the people that want EVs to fail take that and run with it and extrapolate that out to assuming things that maybe shouldn't be assumed. And so we will have to see how much they're slowing down, what their plan was. It's very possible they could be slowing down. But, for example, with the Ford thing, whenever, Lightning sales were slowing down, there was a bunch of exaggerations and insane stuff being said about, Ford can't sell Lightnings, this, that, and the other. And then no, actually, we had record sales for this quarter for the Lightning. It is on a growth path. The Mach-E also sold more this year than last year. And so, you can hear, Mach-E's are sitting on lots and Lightnings are sitting on lots. And it's yeah, but what else is sitting on lots? Regular F-150s. Guess what's the number one selling vehicle every single year? The F-150. Just because they're sitting on lots doesn't mean that no one wants them. And people were saying, aha, look, the EVs suck. They're all sitting on lots. It's no, they're finally just getting inventory, which is what Americans want. Americans want to stroll down to their local dealership and pick out, one out of a lineup of 12 of them in every color imaginable and pick one and drive it home that day. That's how Americans want to buy cars. And for the longest time, that wasn't the case with EVs, but the manufacturers were trying to get caught up to that demand. Now they finally caught up to the demand, and now they're slowing down production to match what the current demand is. But Ford said we do that with anything. That's not an EV thing. That's just smart economics. You try and match demand. You don't want to have too much supply. And so, that's kind of how that's played out. I think Audi could potentially be the same thing of just where is our demand at? And let's not overproduce. Especially now with the EU, they have a lot more flexibility because now there's no real, ramp up until 2035 very much. So they can kind of do whatever they want here in the meantime. So, if you're going to give people that extra wiggle room, then they're going to take it. And so I think now you're going to see, some slowdowns there just because the laws have loosened up, and also just trying to, again, match the demand there. Because I think the demand is still there. It's just, like any early adopter thing, the iPhones are sold out for the first month because everyone wants one. And then all the early adopters get them. And then guess what? You can walk into your normal Apple store and buy an iPhone tomorrow. But that doesn't mean no one wants the iPhone just because there's iPhones sitting at the store. It just means they've finally caught up to that. So I think it's some of that going on. But, it just gets spun in various ways to suit, whatever everyone wants to report on for their side of the situation, But anyway, that's my take on that. But I have to look into it more to say for sure. But Raphael, thank you so much for the very generous super chat. It says, I took the TRD in for a service Wednesday and they offered me 31 grand for it. I paid 32.3. Maybe cutting the V6 is already making it popular. Maybe. I think also what you're seeing is probably Tacoma's just having rock solid resale values. I think it is, if not the number one, it is close to the number one for resale value. So they're not going to depreciate much. And so I'm guessing it's some of that too. I'm not sure how old yours is, but I think there's they just don't depreciate, which is wild. But I think, there is definitely going to be obviously people that are well, if there's no V6, I don't want it, or it's just new technology, I don't want it. People that are nervous about, anything new or just don't like the styling, pick your variety of reasons why. There's going to be some holdouts for sure. But at least I know my brother-in-law, who's a Toyota salesman, they got like flooded with a ton of old gen Tacomas here, and they've had to do some good deals on them to get them sold. Because a lot of people I think do want the new ones. So but I think it's great that Tacomas are such great I guess investments in a way, and it's one of the huge appeals for them, I think, for sure, because you can just buy them and drive them and then not lose any money at all. And let me see. So other questions here. Don't want to get too far behind. Elijah said, I hope the 2024 Charger comes out looking like the concept. That was cool to look out of the one shown in your update. Just doesn't look as BA. Yeah. I know I'm kind of mixed about the new Charger too, based on that little teaser that they showed off there. I mean, brown headlamps, typically I'm in the camp that likes that, but they just, I think it doesn't help that in that Christmas card kind of look, they looked halogen, which clearly they're not going to be, yellowy lights like that for any modern vehicle. But yeah, just the round lights just don't seem to go with everything being so sharp edged on that car, and then to have round lights kind of put in there. I don't know. We'll see. The only thing that could maybe save it is if they're hideaway lights and they bring that back and they have covers over them whenever the lights aren't on. That could be a fun little surprise and a way to kind of keep that concept look while still having round lights behind it if they need to do that for some reason, or they want to do that for whatever reason. But we'll see. But yeah, I kind of saw that and I'm like, didn't think that was the direction they were going to go with that. But yeah, we'll have to wait for the final thing to see for sure. And Austin says, hey, Matt, happy holidays. I'm not sure if I like the changes. Oh, wait, I just read that one. Sorry. Goth Rocker said, cars I'm going to miss that die this year. Dodge Challenger, Charger, Chrysler 300, Ford GT, Camaro, Kia Stinger, Audi R8, and Audi TT. Yeah, that's basically all the most exciting stuff that's going away this year. And it's a crazy year. It's been a rough one to report on some of this stuff. It's been so disappointing to see it go away for sure. And Stephen, thank you so much for the very generous super chat as well. And Evolving, thank you for gifting a membership there. Really appreciate that as well. And to make sure you guys have your gifting on so you can snatch that up. And all right, CV Mitchell got it, so congrats on getting that. And Stephen says, Merry Christmas. Thanks for joining in, Stephen, and Evolving for the generous gift there to V Mitchell as well. And thanks for hanging out, guys. And Stephen, if you have any other comments and stuff, I'll be sure to keep an eye out for those as well. But thanks so much for the generosity. And I see you did have another question here. So let me, I don't want to miss the other ones, because Ludicrous Fool says the Nissan Z as a whole has been met with a tepid response, lukewarm reviews from critics, and seemingly being forgotten very quickly. The tons of new listings or any indication. I think the Z is just dealers are holding them hostage. The dealers finally get something exciting that's not a GTR for the first time, and they're just trying to milk it for all it's worth, and it's biting them in the butt, at least Nissan corporate in the butt, and they're all just being held hostage. I think that's truly what it is. I think people were so used to getting a good deal on a Z, and then you go into a Nissan dealer and they're going to play hardball with you. It's like, okay, never mind, I'll go buy something else that's better. I don't think the Z is better in really any way, especially whenever the Supra kind of took the momentum out of the Z with offering a manual on the Supra. Then it's like, well, I think a lot of people would agree the Supra is going to be the better car, and so it makes it a tough sell for the Z unless they discounted the price, and instead they're just having the Nismo version be insanely expensive, and just they seem to be completely tone deaf to what people are saying out there, and it is what it is. But MDKN, thank you so much for gifting 10 memberships. That's so generous. It's I really feel the holiday spirit in here with all the gifting. That's awesome. Thank you so much, MDKN, and glad to see so many people are able to get those memberships there. That's awesome. And thank you once again, MDKN. I'm sure everyone else is very thankful as well. Getting back to the other member questions here. Lucas Fool says there's hundreds of new listings across the country. Yeah, and especially going into winter here, at least for the East Coast, that's going to be only worse because no one's going to want to buy a rear-wheel drive car in the winter. So I don't know. I would love to see if there's any discounts out there for Z's yet, but they got to break at some point, because there are those I keep forgetting the name of the term, but those kind of like finance fees that dealers have to pay for keeping stuff on the lot. And that's going to have to catch up to them at some point. They can't just let these cars rot forever on the lot. So we will see what ends up happening, but I'm hoping that next year, maybe some people can finally get some good deals on Z's. Austin says, did Matt disable the chat view in his video stream, not showing up on my TV like usual? I don't think I did anything different. Let me see. Yeah, I don't I don't think so. Not sure if it's just not working on the YouTube side or what, but if anyone else can chime in, if there's any other issues from anyone else, maybe try refreshing Austin, or going out and coming back in or something. I don't know. If anyone knows anything about that, I can certainly try to play around with it. Jazz says stream looks okay. Goth Rocker, okay, thanks. And Steven, thanks for saying floor plans. That's what it's called. Floor plan fees for dealers is the term there. They can't hold cars forever because they don't pay cash for all their inventory. They also keep that running on a line of credit. So anyway, yeah, so I would just try coming out Austin and going back in and seeing if that helps with the stream there. And Steven says, what are your thoughts on the Bronco Heritage Limited? A dealer offered me a loaded one for $5,000 over. I'm sick of ADM. I don't know. I mean, I guess if you really, really love the retro look, but I mean, Broncos already look retro enough, and you can do that stuff aftermarket. They are really expensive already for a Heritage version, and then markup over that dealer is crazy in my opinion. I mean, maybe a few of them are getting it, but I thought the Bronco markups were just about done at this point, because that hype is definitely, came and went. So yeah, I mean, I like the Bronco. I'd certainly take a Bronco over Wrangler personally, but I would definitely not pay a markup at this point. And I think the Heritage is way overpriced. I'd go for a cheaper Bronco. I know, Steven, you've got quite a collection there. And so if it's a, collectible kind of car for you or something, then that's fine. But I kind of am skeptical about that one actually holding its value very well. I don't know. I feel like that's probably not going to be the best investment, especially with an ADM. So I'd probably pass on that unless you really want a Bronco, but I would just get a regular one and save yourself some money, honestly. And Raphael says Camry TRD, and it's a 2020 with 28,000 miles. As far as I missed the follow-up there. Sorry. Yeah, I don't know what that's referring to, but anyway, I apologize. Let me see. So, I think I got your question there, Steven. And Ludacris says, not going to be able to judge how it drives for now, but I don't like the design of the next Charger. I would have preferred they kept it as the 4-door and a Challenger companion as a 2-door. Yeah, and that's the other thing. I don't know what Dodge is doing with, is there going to be a Challenger? Is the Challenger going to be the gas one and the Charger be the electric one? Because I kind of see that potentially even happening. Are they both going to have 4-door versions? Or, I have no clue what they're doing with all that. And there's no real good speculation about that either. So it just all seems like we're all just like, yep, we'll just have to wait and see. I have no clue. Hopefully we get some info soon, because I mean, we already have, the reveal of the 2025 Ram. And if we're doing 2025 model year stuff, which is what Charger I'm pretty sure will be, and they're saying it'll be available late 2024. I mean, the clock is ticking. I mean, they could reveal it a week before it shows up at dealers, but someone's going to let the secret out at some point. Someone's going to snap a picture, because at this point, if it's going to be on sale in like 9 months, there is, or, even a little bit later, but I mean, there is going to be pretty finished, they're going to be doing tool trial production relatively soon and stuff. I mean, there's going to be some leaks if they don't get out ahead of it. So I think if they'd be better off, revealing it really soon, and making sure that they're the ones that actually break the story. They almost lost it already with the stamping, pictures that came out of the factory. So if I were them, I'd try and get a reveal out sooner rather than later, just so that, they can actually be the ones that pull the wraps off, and not, some random person with a spy camera, in a dealership or in a meeting or something like that. But yeah, we'll see how that plays out. Garth Walker says the Z should have came standard with a limited slip diff, and yes, the dealers are asking $80,000 for a Z. Very stupid. Yeah, I have told this story a couple of times before, but I was sitting in the presentation for the Z launch, because I was on the Z launch, and we didn't know the price until they were actually giving the presentation, which is rare. Usually we get info ahead of time, and we were sitting there, and they're like, yeah, so it's going to be starting at 40 or whatever, and I was like, okay, and then they're like, and then this one, which has a limit slip and all that, is going to be what do they say, 50, 51 or something. And I had to stop myself from having a reaction, because I actually was going to have a actual reaction. I had to stop myself and holy crap. Yeah. And it's, a limit slip diff isn't expensive, and they really made the base one so unappealing unless you are a tuner. But do a limited slip diff pack for $2,000, and I think that they will eventually. I think that they just knew that there was going to be the blank check buyers that were going to buy the first few, but clearly that has ended because we got, the hundreds of them are supposedly stacking up on the lots now. So now is the time to start offering discounts, incentives, and then, for this next model year, make a limited slip diff package, a sport pack or whatever you want to call it, for $2,500 or something. Throw a limited slip diff in and call it a day. And I think you would get a lot more takers, it's something like that. So, because I think at $40,000, it's a great deal, but it doesn't have the performance hardware that enthusiasts want. People, I guess Nissan's hoping that, there's still gonna be some like Z buyers that are like the average like secretaries that just want something cool looking. But like, I feel like there aren't those buyers anymore. There used to be people that would buy coupes that weren't enthusiasts, but I feel like now you have to appeal to enthusiasts with these coupes because they're the only people that are really going to buy that, especially at those kind of price points. So I think trying to do some non-sporty version of the Z was kind of a miss. They should just, like you said, put the LSD in from the beginning, and people that want to have the Bose stereo and want to have the huge Brembos and stuff, like, charge them extra, but don't severely limit the base car and hope that a few people are going to go for it, because no one's going to. And MD Can says, I think I'm done for my Christmas spending spree now. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it once again. And thanks so much for supporting the channel and these memberships as well. It's something I'm going to definitely try and expand more membership stuff. Like we talked about last week, I'm going to do a tour of everything on these shelves here as a member exclusive video here relatively soon. And I'm going to try and just do some one take member videos in 2024 here and just do, no editing, no nothing. They're not going to be the most polished, but just to give you guys kind of a behind the scenes look, and just kind of show my appreciation and support for all of you who support the channel with those memberships, because it really does help as the channel continues to decline in views. The memberships, are really, really helpful. And so that really helps to keep the channel going. So I appreciate that and want to, support that more. And thanks, Fook, for gifting another 5 memberships here. That's awesome to see so many people getting the memberships here. It's going to be a fun extra group of people here to add in. And I got another member post coming soon too. I have to update the schedule because I've been really shifting around my schedule. I got like the first 2 months of 2024 scheduled out for reviews already. And I also have a surprise coming for Monday, or not for Monday's Christmas. For Tuesday, I'll be posting a surprise video, something that just popped up that I happened to be able to go and sneak out and review it yesterday. And so stay tuned for a fun surprise. It's not like the most amazing car ever or anything, but it's another older used performance bargain kind of thing, which is the kind of stuff I really want to focus on this year or this coming year. Because for 2023 here, the top 2 videos, the people that all of you watched on the channel this past year were, the 300C video and then the Impala SS. And I really want to get back to that cheap, affordable stuff that's still a ton of fun. And get back to doing more privately owned vehicles that those of you out there that have cool cars have offered me. I want to hit the road more next year. I think that is really the clear way forward to keep my channel different from everyone else that has all the new press cars and all the new media drives. There's just a million of those out there, and I can't compete, to be totally honest, these days. And so I think kind of if everyone's zigging, I'm going to zag, and I'm going to just, go back to my roots. And I'm still doing a lot of press car stuff and a lot of media trips, but I'm going to really, really try hard to just do more of these, cool cars that pop up at my local dealer here. And, whenever people offer me stuff like that Mustang, like, it wasn't convenient for me to drive 7 hours round trip to review that Mustang. But I'm like, I gotta get in the car and I just have to do it and just kind of go out of my comfort zone and just do these, extra things that, I just know need to be done. I think it's just easy with press cars showing up in your driveway every week. And, it makes it a lot easier and it makes things simpler, but that's clearly not the way forward for better views. So that's why I'm really going to focus on just doing the out of the ordinary stuff that no one's seen a review on ever, or not in the past 10 years, and kind of, give a modern take on some stuff, and no one else is really doing that. So I want to really, try and do some more of that here this year going forward. And hopefully I'll be able to bring some of you members along for the ride with just some behind the scenes little one take stuff is going to be one of the goals here. But thank you again, everyone, for the generosity here with the memberships and all the support here this year with those. But anyway, you want to get back here we're not too far behind on the other questions. So me see. So B Mitchell says 2 in the basement must be messing with your web connection. Yeah, he's down there yanking on cables, and thankfully the lock worked this week. Just kidding. But yeah, I guess 2 has some other obligations this week, I guess, and I'm happy to see that everyone's hanging with family, having a good time, I'm sure. And Asa says, thoughts on the 2019 Audi RS5? Is it worth owning as a daily driver, or would you look elsewhere? I love the RS5. I mean, I'm sure you've probably seen the review that I did. I think it was back in 2018. I reviewed, maybe it's a 2018. I think 19s are the same, but RS5 to me was like a GTR in a suit. It was kind of like my thoughts on it. It is just like a monster on a back road. I mean, it has 4-wheel steering and all this stuff. It's insanely fast. So good. Super fast transmission, super comfortable massaging seats, all the great tech. If those, I don't know, I haven't looked at those prices recently, but if they are good values now, again, it's an older German vehicle, so I would say buy it with an extended warranty for sure. But man, yeah, I highly recommend the RS5. Fantastic cars, all the generations of them really, but especially those newest ones. Yes, you lose out on the V8, but man, oh man, those things are rockets and so good. Anything you can throw at that thing, it'll handle it with ease and do it all while massaging you and giving you surround sound experience and everything. It is like the total package. Love the RS5. And Steven says they offered me sticker on my beautiful Z06 70th. Very generous. Yeah, but you got to keep that Z06. He says as a trade. But man, your Z06, that was another one obviously this year. One of the highlights for sure. Man, what an awesome car. One of the cars that if I could afford it, I actually would swap the Bullet for that because I loved it that much. But way out of my price range, and probably will always be that'll be probably always the case because those things are gonna be desirable forever. But Stephen, thank you so much for another very generous super chat. He says, Happy New Year. He said, I was making a joke. It was insulting. Yeah, they're giving you, I gotcha. So yeah, as far as giving you a trade there, but yeah, the Z06 is, I hope you keep that car forever or a long time because those things are so special. I'm so jealous. And also you live in a place where you can actually enjoy it year round, which makes it even better. Let me see. So Ludacris says, could be worse. Could be looking at the ADMs charged on the Corvette Z06s and the Porsche GT products nowadays. That's true. I mean, there's always, the exotic world is a whole nother story as far as insanity with prices and stuff. But at least with like exotics, I mean, you have people that have more disposable cash. The average Z buyer, that markup is the deciding factor for a lot of them between will I buy this and will I not. Porsche GT products, people are going to buy them no matter what the price is. Z06 is to a lesser extent because that is kind of a value play in a way, because, but I think a lot of Z06 buyers also have Ferraris and Lambos and stuff like that. But the Porsche GT stuff, that's a whole nother world where everyone just, writes blank checks and it's, so to me, I have less sympathy for those. And I kind of blame dealers less for that because you're dealing with people that, kind of have the disposable cash. So you're almost leaving money on the table with them. So, not that that's great still, but I think, Porsche's not hurting. The brand isn't hurting or anything. Whereas with Nissan, I think that is hurting the brand. I think if these Z's were priced well and dealers were selling them a sticker, it could have really been a nice little, recovery story for Nissan in a way of like, hey, look, they put out a great car. It looks great. It drives good. I mean, people really love it. There's a thriving community of them, but instead there's no community really, at least that I've seen, because just no one can get their hands on them for a decent price. And I think it did hurt the brand. They spent this money. They went out on a limb. They didn't have to do a new Z. They took the risk and they did it. I think they did it pretty well, even if it's not the best. They did it pretty well for the resources they had to work with. And then dealers completely just, shoot their legs off essentially, and it's just, it's that's the part that annoys me is whenever, same thing with GR Corollas and stuff like this, Toyota priced the GR Corolla at 40 grand. I was like, holy crap, amazing pricing, like go Toyota. And then it doesn't even matter because dealers were greedy. Thankfully, that has now dropped off for the most part. I know there are dealers that sell GR Corollas at sticker now, which is great. But it just, again, it kills the hype because people that wanted them a year ago couldn't get them. And now they've went and bought something else. And now you get GR Corollas that are, sitting around instead. I mean, I don't think there's less of that, but, it's still just, it's definitely, I think, more annoying than when you're talking about the mainstream brands for sure. And Saul, thank you so much for a very generous super chat there. I really appreciate it. He says, thanks for all you do, Matt. After months of window shopping and dreaming, you helped me pull the trigger on Integra Type S. Loving it. That's awesome. Kudos to you for supporting the Integra Type S cause as well, buying a manual transmission, buying one of these awesome, fun cars. And I'm glad that you're loving it. And I'm glad that the video helped you as well. That's why I do these videos is, not just to entertain, not just to keep everyone informed, those of you who like staying up to date, but also to help people find a car they'll love. That is truly what keeps me going. So thank you. I'm so glad to hear that. Thanks for the feedback too. That's the greatest motivator I can have is whenever someone says your videos help me find a car that I love. That is my number one goal. And so I'm so happy to hear that that's the case for you, Saul. And I hope you're enjoying that thing to the fullest extent. And thank you so much for the very generous super chat as well. I again, really, really appreciate it. And thanks so much for your support and all the live streams here this year and all that. It's been so fun doing these live streams every week. It's something I look forward to, and I'm sure many of you do as well. And I really appreciate that too. So I'm feeling the love here in this live stream. It really means a lot. I really appreciate it, guys. Let me see here, back to the other questions. So where was I? So Steven says they can have a good day. My DM6 and GT500 will be just fine. Yeah, you go, Steven. Austin says video and audio is fine. Just no scrolling chat view on the YouTube TV app, only on the phone. Bummer. Sorry to hear that, Austin. Hopefully it'll be better next week, or not next week, because I won't be doing one next week, but first one of 2024 here, hopefully. And Raphael says, Matt, do you have a favorite vet? My friend has the first gen, but my favorite is the C3 by a mile. Well, now after driving the Z06, new Z06 is hands down my favorite Corvette of all time. But as far as other Corvettes outside of that one, I would say, I've never driven all the old ones. I'd really love to. The oldest I've driven is C4, but just from the appearances, I'd love a first gen. I think that'd be super cool. Second gen, I've never really fallen in love with the second gens. I mean, they're cool for sure, but I love the look of the first gen. Third gens, I actually love the look of the third gens as well. They're super cool. I know the performance is not great on those, but I mean, styling to me, I always love the third gens. I know that may be an unpopular opinion, so I'm with you there on the C3s being one of my favorites for sure. And fun fact, also, Beth loves the C1. If we ever had a ton of money someday and we won the lottery or something, she said she'd actually want a pink C1 Corvette someday. And another fun fact, her grandfather had a C1 Corvette back in the 50s. Was black with a silver inset on the it was one of the first years, I think, of the double headlights, but still, the C1 generation there. So Beth actually comes from some Corvette heritage in her family there. And then I think her grandfather had to sell it to get a more family oriented vehicle way back then. But so it'd be cool to experience a C1 for that reason as well. There's so many good ones. I don't have a lot of love for C5s or C6s. And even C4s, I'm like, man, it was fun to review the C4. That was a cool vehicle just for the nostalgia factor, but I'm with you. I think C3, C1 is probably my other favorites there. And Smile for Mouse says, considering that Toyota and Subaru offer an LSD as standard for a car with 228 horsepower, Nissan has been stingy. Totally agree. A very good point. And Fuchs says, I can't stay today, but happy holidays, everyone. Hope you, Matt, and everyone have a great holiday season and a fantastic kickstart to 2024. See you all next year. Thanks so much for joining in, Fuchs, and for the very generous gifting as well. And hope you have a great holiday, Fuchs. And thanks so much for your support this year. And look forward to seeing you again in 2024 here. MDKN says the one takes would be awesome. I don't mind those. In fact, I do enjoy it, especially if bloopers happen. Yeah, I think that's something I'm just going to have to, I tried for so long to be very professional with this channel, and I think that I can still balance that as well, but I think I do want to do more personal stuff and not worry about bloopers if it's a one-take thing. I think with the members especially, I think that kind of gives me a little more freedom to be me, because I know it's, I'm putting the video out to people that aren't going to be super critical as far as, you know, if I make mistakes and things like that. I know that I'm among friends, you know, and with the regular channel, you know, I have to make sure I don't mess anything up. I'm saying all the facts correctly. I never misquote a horsepower number, and I try and always, you know, cross my T's and dot my I's, you know, but I think with the member stuff, I can kind of loosen up a little bit. So I really do want to do more of that. And if you guys have any other ideas for things you would like to see, you know, we still like aren't showing family stuff, you know, so that's going to be still probably off limits, but, you know, I'm more than happy to show anything else if there's stuff you guys like to see. The one thing I know people said they love to see, like a behind the scenes of me filming a review, which I may try to make happen this coming year. The only problem with that is like I need a third person perspective. I can't really vlog that because then that would just make it twice as long to, you know, film a review. So I feel like I'm going to try and maybe find some time in 2024 to just have Beth come along for a review filming. And her job will just be to literally like have the camera rolling for anything that's mildly interesting while I'm filming. A lot of it is honestly quite boring. If any of you who've been, who've met up with me for reviews in the past, it's like I sit in a parking lot for an hour and film B-roll. And then, you know, we go for a drive and, you know, some people ride along, some don't. But, you know, it's a lot of it's just, you know, I talk for 20 or 30 minutes, but we're driving around for an hour or however long. And it's just, you know, it's not always action packed, but I think doing a behind the scenes thing could be cool. So I'm going to try and maybe do that. But any other ideas you guys would have, I want to make sure that the membership is, again, something you guys are enjoying and something that's worthwhile, not just to support the channel, but that you're, you know, getting some value out of it as well. And I'm going to try and do that, you know, even if it's just, again, the shorter stuff. I think that's very manageable. Doesn't take extra time out of my day if it's just a one take kind of thing. So I'm glad to hear that you guys are excited about that as well. And sorry, I missed a couple more super chats here. So yeah, I see. Yeah, so Jonah, thank you so much for your first super chat. I really appreciate it. He says, what new performance car would you buy right now if money was no object? I'd go Cadillac CT5V Black, CT5V, or Porsche Boxster. If money were no object, that is really tough because I go immediately to the exotics. If I needed like one car though that I had to like live with and be able to take my daughter in and stuff like that, I would go CT5V Blackwing as well. That would be my top, like if I only have one car to do everything, that Blackwing would certainly be it. Now, if I had the luxury of having other cars to, you know, handle other duties, then I would probably say, you know, it'd be close. It'd probably end up being a Ferrari 812 GTS would be like, if I could just money no or no object, that would probably be it, because the 812 GTS, it still is a great hardtop, and you can take the roof off. It's got a V12. It's just amazing. I'm kind of a Ferrari fan, even though I hardly ever review them on the channel, but I love Ferraris. But it'd be either that or an Aston Martin DBS. I love the DBSs so much. I think it's still one of the most gorgeous looking cars. That V12 is also amazing in those. And that has a back seat. So if I needed to, you know, put my daughter back there in a pinch, it would probably be very tough to do because it's a tiny back seat, but at least it's like a seat legally, so I could, you know, try and finagle a way to get the car seat in there. So maybe I would say, as far as livability, if it had to be one car, I could pull off a DBS maybe a little bit better. Excuse me, but thanks for the fun question. Thanks so much for your first super chat as well, Joan. I really appreciate it. And let me see, getting back to the other member questions here. So where was I? And B. Mitchell says, that's okay, we're not all that polished. Yeah, and so I think it's kind of fun to, you know, and that's what I love about these live streams too, is just being, you know, just totally open and just kind of having a conversation with you guys, you know, instead of a polished, you know, edited video. And Steven says, your wife did well contributing to the channel this past year. Yeah, thanks. I'm glad you like the interior reviews. I think, you know, focusing those on just doing only vehicles that sell in decent numbers is the smart way to go about it, because, you know, like, not that many people care about her opinion on like a C8 Corvette interior, because how many, you know, couples are like shopping that, you know, that's usually a very like one-sided kind of purchase typically, you know, but I think with the family crossovers and stuff like that, especially, I think that, yeah, it really helps. And I think Beth is really the reason why the female viewership on this channel really went up a lot this year. It kind of bounces a little bit back and forth, but it got up as high as like 8% of viewers were female this year, which is great, because I mean, that's also my goal. Again, if my goal is to try and help you guys find a car you'll love, like I think the stats are, you know, over 50% of car purchases are done by women, and if not done by women, they're definitely many, I would say probably most, are influenced heavily, you know, by wives and girlfriends and stuff like that. And so, you know, I want to have something that appeals to everyone on this channel, and not just, be super guy focused. Obviously, I think, again, the other 92% are guys, but I just always want to try and, appeal to everyone and have something that helps, everyone out there. And that's also one of the reasons why I've branched out, and I'm not just doing sports cars and things like that. Not that sports cars are inherently manly or anything, but just, trying to just do normal consumer advice for everyone out there as well. But let me see here. Other questions. Jess says, Matt, maybe a member-only view of a car is delivered to you and or returned to you by the press fleet. Yeah, that could maybe be like a picture I could do, because there's really not a whole lot there as far as the drop off. I could maybe just upload my security cam footage from the garage or the driveway whenever they show up, but they literally roll up. They'll maybe wipe off a few things off of the car, but then they just hop in the other one and drive away, and it's very uneventful there. But yeah, I mean, it'd be kind of cool to do like an extra behind the scenes video on how that stuff works. I know I've explained it in these live streams, but maybe as a little more of a bite-sized kind of thing would be, something that would be interesting to kind of, peel back the curtain there a little bit for those who don't watch these live streams for sure. And MD Ken says, you're welcome. Glad you got the membership. Yeah, I'm glad to see everyone is happy to get those. And I see Jonah also had another question. He said, hey, Matt, what's the best compact SUV currently in the market? If we're talking regular gas-powered stuff and we're not factoring in hybrids or plug-in hybrids, compact SUV, see, with stuff like that, I don't love making a blanket statement, because I think that there's a perfect choice for everyone based on their preferences and what their needs are, and that's unique to every person. If you are searching for anything in particular shopping wise, definitely feel free to send me a message on Facebook as well, and we can drill down exactly what your preferences are, what you like and need. I'd be more than happy to help eliminate some options and try and come up with the best thing for you personally. For me personally, I think that if you don't need cooled seats, the CRV is definitely a standout for me. But even with that, I feel like the hybrid version is better than the regular gas one. So, if you are considering hybrids and plug-in hybrids, I still love the RAV4 Prime. I think that's one of my favorites. But the regular RAV4 is still good too. And especially if you're going to buy a car and keep it a long time, I think that's definitely going to be one of the best things. My sister-in-law has a RAV4. She actually has a base trim RAV4. It just has a whole drive, but she has the base one and she still loves it. So I think RAV4s are great. CRVs are great. All the top dogs are the top dogs for a reason. So I think, those top sellers are going to be probably the best picks, but again, that's not necessarily always the case. I think at least the Mitsubishi Outlander plug-in hybrid was really a dark horse this year that I wasn't expecting to be impressed by. But if you just saw the video this past week, I was really impressed with it. I'm like, wow, this interior is nicer than I was expecting. This drives nicer than I was expecting. There's more deals to be had on them than a Toyota or Honda for sure. I haven't driven the regular version. I've driven the regular Rogue, which it shares a powertrain and transmission with for that non-plug-in hybrid Outlander. But I actually was fine with the Rogue powertrain. So if it's Rogue powertrain and it's all the other same goodness unchanged in the Outlander could be a great choice as well. And you get a longer 10-year warranty with that. That matches the Hyundai and the Kia, which are good as well. Like I was talking earlier in the last stream here, Sportage is good. And Tucson is good as well. But I think driving wise, CRV is my favorite driver of the bunch. But then the others have their own strengths in other various ways. Yeah, feel free to send me a message, Jonah, or anyone else. If anyone is ever needing, a little bit of advice or just someone to bounce ideas off of as far as car purchases, feel free to always send me a message on Facebook. That's usually the easiest way. If you don't have a Facebook, you can email as well, but I try and keep email mostly to business stuff if I can, but always happy to help anyone with trying to figure out the best car for them. Let me see. So Brian's video complex says, I got gifted a membership thanks to Fook. I'm glad you're able to get one there, and welcome to the membership club here once again. And let me see other questions. MD Can says RS5s are running for about 55 to 57 with 30,000 miles on them. That seems pretty reasonable, especially these days. Because an RS5 I think will still outrun a new Mustang and a lot of other really impressive stuff. So I'd rather have a used RS5 over an M2 or something like that. So if if it's similar kind of money there, I think that's a solid value. And 30,000 miles, hopefully you wouldn't have any issues for a good long while still. So I think that could be a solid buy. Still would try and get an extended warranty, just be on the safe side if you plan to keep it a long time. But yeah, I love the RS5. I think Audi, a lot of people I don't know, don't give Audi a lot of credit, I think sometimes, but I am always really impressed with most of the stuff that Audi does. They do some really good stuff. And I see Greg also says, I bought a Bullet because of your videos and I'll never sell it. I'm glad you're enjoying your Bullet as well. I'm so glad to see there's still some. And Steven says he still regrets selling his Bullets. And yeah, I love my Bullet. I'm hoping I don't ever have to sell it as well. We will just see how 2024 goes, but I'm hoping I get to keep that thing forever too. And my daughter's also been recently, I actually have not taken her for a ride in it yet because it's a huge pain to get the car seat in the back of that thing, especially now since her car seat's so big. And she didn't love loud cars, but I recently been talking to her. I'm like, it has a quiet mode, so it could make Daddy's car quieter. And you could still go for a ride. And now she's excited to go for a ride in it. So, with the roads being kind of salty and stuff, I'm avoiding driving the Bullet too much. But I think in the spring I'll take her for her first ride in the Bullet, and it'll be a fun experience. But yeah, that's still love that car. I still wish I had more time to drive it for sure. But Goth Rocker says, Matt, did you know the new Z06 they tested and shot lots of footage out in Pittsburgh area before it came out? Yeah, and yeah, they did the launch in Pittsburgh too for the Z06. But yeah, I remember when the B-roll came out for the reveal for the Z06, I was like, that's 15 minutes from my house. And I had no clue. And I guess, yeah, they did a bunch of testing at Pit Race, which is the local racetrack here. I had no clue about any of that. Obviously that was all hush hush, and clearly, I'm not that well in with Chevy to, get any kind of heads up about that or any kind of info on that. But obviously it was all top secret, so I understand. But yeah, and I've kind of plugged into some of the movie stuff that happens in the city still a little bit, but I didn't even hear about any kind of roads being shut down for that or anything. So they were really discreet about doing that in broad daylight, no less, which also is really an impressive feat. But yeah, it was pretty cool. And Steven says a lot of them with less miles look for one of those. Zachary says there's a Bullet near me with 17,000 miles for 39 grand. So tempted. That seems like a pretty good deal because I believe Kelly Blue Book with mine having 20,000 miles. I think they were quoting me 42. I could be wrong, but I think we've been seeing them in the low 40s. So if you're seeing one under 40, I'd say that's probably a good deal as long as it's in decent shape and doesn't have a bad Carfax or anything. I think that'd probably be a solid buy. And I think especially like I talked about my 2024 Mustang video, between a comparable, if you want one with MagnaRide, you want basically everything that comes on a Bullet, it's going to be $60,000 or $61,000. And that's why I even said if you get a leftover Mach 1 that's sitting on the lot, because there are still a couple of those, I think, sitting on lots, you can get one of those for even 10 grand less. Like the Mach 1 I reviewed, the owner said he got it for a few grand under sticker for a really special, amazing car still. It's just not the newest thing. And so therefore, they're starting to roll out the deals on them. But, Bullet, again, I'm biased clearly, but you get most of the same fun as the 2024 Mustang. Yes, you get quicker steering in the new one and the big screens if that excites you. But if those two things don't excite you, totally get a Bullet and you can have the same horsepower as the 2024 with, $500 in mods. It's not hard to get the 500 horsepower naturally aspirated in those things. So, I think, yeah, you save yourself $20,000 over a new one and get a used Bullet. I'd say that's a solid buy in my opinion. But of course, I am biased, so take it with a grain of salt. But I would fully endorse that decision. And let me see. Austin says, I wish manufacturers had more influence over dealers other than threatening allocations. Yeah, and I think this is why, we're seeing manufacturers trying to break away with doing these new spin-off brands or having different things to try and wiggle their way out of these franchise agreements with, because, manufacturers will be like, oh, we love our dealers, blah, blah, blah. And, suck up to them when they need to. But, and I'm way off here, but I'm pretty certain that most manufacturers really would love to drop their dealers in a heartbeat because of this stuff, and it just hurts the brand like anything else. Imagine if, Apple had to go through Best Buy to sell iPhones as their only avenue. I mean, imagine the insanity that would happen, on launch day with those kinds of things. You already see how bad it is on eBay. Imagine if that was the case and you literally could only buy off of eBay. That's what dealers are. It's you have to buy off eBay. Look at PS5s and all that kind of stuff. It's the same thing. Imagine if eBay was your only way to buy a new car. Like how insane that would be. But it's fine. No one bats an eye at that for cars, but that's an insane idea for any other product. And it's just this ancient law that, they knew they had it good. And so they, fortified those laws and paid off whoever they needed to pay off to make sure that the lobbying was done to keep that in place. And I mean, thankfully, we just saw in the past couple of weeks here, that the government just did rule against dealers and they're getting rid of a bunch of the BS stuff. Nitrogen filled tires is no longer legal and a bunch of other things. And that's like, yes, like these are common sense things. Get rid of that garbage crap. Dealers are super mad about it because, it's, probably 90% profit margin for that kind of stuff. And, they're saying, oh, you're going to take billions away from the dealers. And it's like, yes, but you shouldn't feel good about making those billions of dollars off of people that don't know better, charging them BS stuff or strong arming them into it, for example, for these desirable cars, and so, yeah, as I'm sure we all know, myself and most of you probably are not big dealership fans as well, but I think, yeah, I agree, Austin. It's a shame that manufacturers don't have more power, but I think with the EVs and doing these spin-off brands and segmenting stuff, I think they're going to try and wiggle their way out of it eventually. It's going to take some time, but I think that most manufacturers will eventually get out of these dealer things, if for no other reason, just the changing times. We saw how Tesla has done it with direct to consumer, and that it's a better way in most cases. And so it's going to be real hard whenever everyone wants that to fight against it. It's kind of almost like the same thing can be said for like Apple CarPlay. It's like everyone wants it now, everyone has it, or Android Auto, same thing. But everyone has that and wants it. And then if you try and say, oh, no, well, we're going to like hold back like Chevy's done and say, oh, we're not going to do CarPlay now, you're going to get a lot of people that are upset about that. So I think if, as Tesla continues to sell their insane amounts of vehicles and stuff, people are going to be like, well, I'm never going back to a dealership. And hopefully there'll be more of an expectation there in the future. Like, oh, well, if I want to leave from my Tesla to something else, I want a dealer-free experience. And, having these companies try and, match that. We even saw like Hyundai just announced for 2024, they're going to be selling their cars on Amazon. It'll still be through dealers, but supposedly all the finance stuff will happen on Amazon's site. So that'll be another way to circumvent the dealers, circumvent all their BS crap, and just, go straight to, here's the price, here's sales tax, here's your finance agreement, here you go. And then either the dealer can drop it off at your house, or you can go pick it up at the dealer if you want to have a little more of an old-fashioned experience. But, again, that's another creative way to, hey, like, we'll still have it go through the dealership. We're still legal, but, they're basically cutting the dealer out of the deal, in most ways. I'm sure they'll give them a kickback, but, trying to, I think that's how bad dealers have gotten, is like Hyundai will like still like, sure, you can get your commission for selling the car, even though we're doing all the work and Amazon's hosting it all. Like, you can still get your few pennies for selling this car and just still pay them off, but get rid of them otherwise, because they're just, most dealers are so uneducated. And again, I know there's lots of good salesmen. My brother-in-law is a great salesman. There's lots of really good salesmen that actually do help customers and give them good information. I certainly don't want to stereotype, but, unfortunately, it seems like the bad side of that business is certainly stronger than the good. And just at least my observation. I could be wrong, but just anyway, long tangent, apologize there. But yeah, I can go on all day about dealers. And Jess is helping you find a car you love. Maybe Matt should either trademark or copyright that one. I'm sure someone else has said it a million times, but if not, yeah, that's certainly something I'd love to trademark, because that is, put it on my tombstone. That is my life's goal, is if everyone can have a car they enjoy driving for a few miles every day, I think it makes everyone's life just a little bit better. Even though we all have plenty of other crap we got to deal with in this world, at least, that is one little thing that can brighten everyone's day. Even if it's not something fast or something super luxurious or exciting, if you just have a good car, you're just like, I love my little basic Honda Civic, and you just really enjoy it. There's a lot of people like that. And that can be the goal too. It doesn't have to be aspirational. It can just be, I just want a good car that fits me. And, I think that's something that everyone can attain regardless of your budget, But let me see. So Brian says, I enjoy my Integra Type S too, but the problem is its tiny gas tank and the amount of road noise compared to the car I came out of. Have fun. I'm glad you're enjoying yours as well, Brian. But Interesting. I don't remember the gas tank. Obviously, I mean, I mean, you filled it up, but I'd never remember that being like an issue for me. There was one or two cars this year though where the gas tank was really small, and I was like, man, I'm going through gas fast. But I can't remember what it was. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure you get on it with the Integra and it'll be thirsty. But yeah, it's I think. I mean, obviously, I guess they just did it for weight reasons or something. I don't know. Is it a smaller tank than a regular Integra? Because I feel like it's an average tank, but I guess that extra horsepower really sucks it down. But yeah, it's one thing with the Mach-E. I don't miss going to gas stations, that's for sure. And the Bullet gets driven so rarely. I fill it up a handful of times a year, and that's pretty much it for the most part. But Lorenzo says, curious to hear how you think of the new Land Cruiser and the LX will sell. And thank you, Afuk, for the gifted membership. I think Land Cruisers should sell pretty well. I mean, I told Toyota when they revealed it at the reveal event, I'm like, I think you guys really have a hit on your hands here. I mean, yes, it's less hardcore than a Wrangler, but look at how people are. I mean, and some people are like, oh, Land Cruiser is too expensive. But I think Toyota sees how much people pay for Wranglers and how much people are paying for Broncos. And yes, this is a little less capable, but I think, most people don't use that capability. The Land Cruiser will do what most Wrangler and Bronco buyers actually do with their vehicles. Now, whether the customer has the self-awareness to admit that and go for something that on paper is a little less capable, we'll have to wait and see. The LX, I think, is not going to sell very well. Although, funny you mentioned the LX. I think you're talking about the GX as far as the sibling of the Land Cruiser. But I've been seeing a bunch of LXs all of a sudden. Just like this past 2 days, I saw a couple of different LXs after not seeing one basically since I reviewed one, back, when was that? Is it this spring or summer? Or was that last year? It's all a blur sometimes. But anyway, I think the Land Cruiser and especially the GX will both sell really, really well. So I'm excited to see how they do. I mean, some people are saying it's going to be a flop and stuff, but I really don't think so. I think it's going to sell pretty well. And they're not making a ton of them. I think Land Cruiser, they said, I think the idea was like 30,000 or something I saw somewhere. I don't know if that's legit or if that's accurate or not, but I don't think they're going to go for huge volume, especially for the first year of Land Cruiser. So like every other Toyota that's not sold in the hundreds of thousands, it's going to be hard to get and desirable, and there'll be wait lists, I'm sure, for a while. So I think that Toyota is going to be just fine with Land Cruiser and GX as well. I think GX has even more demand. So I think GX, that is going to be one of the hottest cars of next year, just in general, I think. And I'm very excited to do a drive on that. I will be on the launch event for the GX, by the way. So stay tuned for that in early 2024 here. I'm excited to give my coverage on that as well. And Two's in the house. Thanks for joining in, Two, and thank you for the very generous super chat as well. I really appreciate it. He says, hi, guys. Sorry for being late. Matt decided to tie me to the karate chop guy. Some say he can tell the year and model of any Subaru by the smell of the head gasket smoke, and then he can speak to birds by mimicking boxer rumble and turbo whistle. Thanks for joining in, Two, and for all the jokes and all the laughs here on the live streams this year. I really appreciate it. And thanks so much for the generosity as well. And thanks for joining in, Two. I know this is the holiday weekend, so I'm so appreciative that so many of you have joined in here. I'm glad the Saturday live stream has worked out okay for everyone here. I know last year we did do, or this, I guess technically this year, we did a New Year's Day live stream that was, I think, pretty popular as well. But unfortunately, I'll be having some guests over, so I won't be able to do a lot on New Year's Day. But hopefully this is a fun holiday one instead. But let me see. I know I'm behind on the super chat or on the member questions. I apologize, guys. Jazz says, are you going to drive a convertible with the roof down in the snow again this winter like you did last winter? I think it was a Corvette. Yeah, that was a couple years ago because that was before we had our daughter. I am hoping we will see. I think Chevy was talking about sending me an E-Ray this winter. I don't know if that's going to happen because my press car schedule is already pretty well booked for most of the winter. So unless it's late winter, I don't know. But E-Ray possibly, and I don't know if they'd send me a convertible E-Ray or the removable hardtop thing. I guess either way I could drive with the roof off. But maybe E-Ray this winter. But yeah, that was so much fun, and the looks I got were just priceless from people when I'm driving around. It was actively snowing, and I'm driving with the top down of the C8 Corvette. And this was, I think that was winter of 2020 going into 2021. So that was also like I mean, that car is still really hot and fresh, and like everyone was treating them like they were $1 million car, and no one knew what they were and stuff. And here I am, blazing around in the snow, and it's that was fun. And kudos to Chevy for throwing snow tires on a C8 and sending them to the journalists. That's hilarious and awesome of them. And two, thank you for another super chat. Totally unnecessary. He said, all we know is he's Super Dirks fan. Also read The Night Before Christmas at the end of the stream. All right, we'll have to keep an eye out for that. And thanks for joining in too. Yeah, he sent me a message on Facebook. He had ChatGPT do a whole like Night Before Christmas story with inside jokes here on the live streams and stuff. So stay tuned for that here at the end. So thanks for joining in too. And let me see. Back to the other questions. Vishal says, someone in my neighborhood recently bought a Z06 and it sounds amazing. Yeah, they are. Oh, they sound so good. I definitely had my fair share of neighbors staring as I drove by the week or the few days that I had that car as well. And Stephen says that's why you need to keep the Bullet, as far as it just being so perfect. I think, yeah, I agree. I definitely want to keep the Bullet. We will just see, like I said, it's worth a lot, and I have a lot of equity in that car now, and we will see again how the channel does as far as whether or not I need to cash out in that equity. I don't want to. I definitely do not want to. It's going to be a last resort, but the channel, just quick little brief aside of candidness, the channel is that it's the lowest amount of views I've actually had on a yearly basis since I started doing videos even part-time. I think 2011 or 2012 was the last time I had as low of views on a yearly basis as I've had this year. That's just, competition again. There's lots of awesome channels out there these days, and, less people are choosing to watch this channel. And, it is what it is. I'll try my hardest to keep competing. And like I said, try and do different things to kind of differentiate myself and kind of hopefully get some of those views back here next year. But, we will see. I may have to make some big changes next year, whether it's changing up the videos. I've floated the idea of possibly getting rid of the weekly updates, even though I don't want to. I know so many people love those, but adding another car review, which continue to get views, versus the weekly updates, which just die after a week. Car reviews get views every single day for the entire year. Even if it's a tiny bit of views, it's still contributing, and with the weekly updates, that's not the case. So all kinds of stuff's on the table. I'll kind of talk more about that at the end of next week's weekly update. When I do my top 10, I'll do my brief little thing on the plans I have for 2024, things I'm going to try and do to change things up a little bit and improve the channel. But, my attempts in the past few years to try and boost viewership and stop the decline of the channel hasn't been successful. So I'm just a realist. I'm not going to pretend like, everything's good. It's definitely on a decline, and we will see if we can reverse that. But if not, this year could be kind of a make it or break it as far as full time. I can always still do it part time, but we'll see how long I can keep doing this full time if the views keep dropping off like they have been. So we'll see. It's all good either way. I'm just riding this fun ride as long as it lasts, and if it doesn't last, super long, that's okay. I'm very grateful for all the years that I've had to do this, and we'll just have to see what happens. There's lots of really good channels out there these days, and I'm far from the top channel out there, as far as that stuff goes. So it's it is what it is. So we'll see, but just as far as the Bullet goes, that might be one of the things I have to do next year. It's do I keep doing the channel or do I keep the Bullet? Because it may come to that. We'll see. But let me see. I see. Oh, I missed. We got another couple of super chats. So thank you so much, Stephen, for another super chat. I appreciate the generosity again. And Kevin, thank you so much for the super chat as well. He says, recently test drove an ES350, loved the car, but brakes felt really squishy and took a long time to stop. Any ideas if this is normal for Toyota and Lexus? So was it I'd be curious to know if it was a brand new ES350 or if it was a used one, because, with used stuff, then that obviously opens up a lot of other unknowns as far as servicing and, how the state of those brake pads and stuff. Also, sometimes brakes can be a little weird on brand new cars, even if they've been sitting for a while on the lot. Sometimes, you got to knock some of the rust off of them before they really get, extra grabby and stuff. But I'm assuming if you drove a new one and it was all good, as far as brakes feeling squishy and took a long time to stop, I mean, that should not be the case. Especially on a brand new car or any car that's, road legal, you should have pretty responsive brakes. I don't think that's normal to Toyota and Lexus, though, to your question, though. I think And it's actually kind of the opposite. I just I'll be posting a review on a Lexus TX. I just had one of those, and that and the Grand Highlander both had kind of actually a more wooden kind of feel to the brake pedal. It actually had a little less squish than I would personally like. I kind of like feeling some grab there under my foot, and with that was the kind of a dead feeling. With those, I mean, it wasn't horrible. I'm kind of splitting hairs here, just being a reviewer, you have to do that. Everything's fine for the average person. But whenever you're comparing stuff and you're trying to be critical in a review to give people insight on how one's different than the other, that was just one thing I noticed with those. But I mean, every other Toyota and Lexus, I've never had an issue with brake pedals feeling weird, honestly. They do some pretty good integration with the regen with their hybrids and stuff. So I can't recall. And I did do a review on an ES. It was the F Sport though, and I drove it in wintertime. And I don't know if it's just the tires or the suspension setup, but it was not the best handler. It really wanted to understeer. That's the only thing I didn't love about the ES. It was just like I didn't have a ton of confidence diving into a corner with that because it just seemed like it just wanted to wash out immediately. Especially for an F Sport, it was kind of disappointing, honestly, for the handling. So that's the only negative thing I can say about the ES350 that I remember noticing. You can go watch my review, though. I may have said something in the video that I don't remember since that was, again, several years ago at this point. So if you haven't seen that review, definitely I'd recommend checking that out. Yeah, otherwise, I feel like I would maybe try and test drive another one if you really like the ES. See if there's another one available to drive and kind of for yourself see, is this kind of normal? Maybe they've changed something in the past few years that I am unaware of or something. But it's always a good idea is if one car feels off, you don't think it's the brand's decision to have it feel that way, trying into another one, even if it's just for a quick spin around the block, just to see, does this brake pedal feel the same? That can maybe give you a little bit of extra insight as well. Test drives are so crucial, I think, for most cars. I mean, most cars are fine these days. You're not going to uncover any giant gremlins or anything, but I think it just for people's, again, personal preference, what you like as far as feel for steering, brakes, whatever, I think that stuff really is important to, try out in multiple cars, especially if you can even, have that luxury to do that. But thank you so much for your super chat, Kevin. I really appreciate it. And I'll keep an eye out if you have any follow-ups as well. And Tom, thank you so much for a super chat as always. Have you thought of doing one weekly car news event every 2 weeks or a monthly news with the biggest stories? This way you can make more car reviews. I actually didn't think about doing them less frequently. I think because I just know so many people love that being part of their Friday routine every Friday. And also with news, I think I'm already late enough with some of the stuff where I'm talking about it on Friday and it was news on Monday or Tuesday. I think, the best way to do news stuff is to do it like Fastlane Daily used to do and do it every day, or like some of these other channels are doing where they're doing a, video on just one topic and covering that one thing and that's it. And so that's why, if I did ever get rid of the weekly updates, I'd probably still cover news. If there was a new big reveal, I'd want to talk about it. And so I would just do a dedicated video on that car. And I've done a little bit of that. If you've seen, especially if I get embargoed materials ahead of time, I will post up a, reveal video and have all the info on that and do that as a separate thing. And I think that that's really the, news is only hot for 24 hours or so, especially if you're in the loop. I mean, obviously the people that aren't in the loop, they can, find out about stuff years later. But as far as all of you who are enthusiasts, most of you are probably plugged in with all the car news sites as well anyway and stuff. So, as far as being late, I think that's kind of one of the things that hurts the weekly updates. But I just don't I think to do the weekly updates well, I would have to do only weekly updates and just do, news only. And if I was 2 people, I would do that. I'd have to do one channel of just news and one channel of just reviews, but I just don't have that time to do both. But I think that's really the best way is just jump on those news stories immediately. And, so maybe if I do transition away from weekly stuff, I will still do news stuff, and maybe I can compile it into a playlist that, people can watch at their leisure on a Friday or whatever, but, hopefully I hope I can keep everything the way it is. But I think that keeping everything the way it is kind of potentially hurting the channel, and that's why I'm trying to be open to switching things up, because I don't want to just, keep doing the same thing over and over again, hoping for different results, because that's the definition of insanity. I don't want to do that. So I want to be open to change and, see where that leads me without, again, upsetting too many people, because I don't want to, I know so many people that's literally their Friday routine. Like they're like, oh, the weekly update is on the TV. I got my dinner in front of me or whatever. And they can, relax and thaw out, take their mind off whatever crap they had to deal with that week. And, I really value that, and I respect that. And so I don't want to, drop that stuff. But at the same rate, it's kind of a, programming decision. If I'm doing this as a business, when a TV show doesn't get views, they cancel the show. Even if everyone's mad online, if Netflix cancels a show that everyone loves after 1 or 2 seasons, there's a lot of really vocal people, but not enough people to justify keeping the show around. And so, the weekly updates may go that route of just being this, thing that has a niche core audience of a couple thousand people, but that might not be enough to keep the show on, So again, hopefully it doesn't come to that. We'll see. But I think that that's something I'm considering for next year potentially. But Christopher, thank you so much for your very first super here on the channel. I appreciate it. And if you have any questions as well, you want to ask along with that, I'll definitely keep an eye out for any questions you have. But thank you so much. And I want to get back to the member questions. I know I'm way behind here. So let me see if I can find where I left off here. All right. So where was I? All right. Yeah. So B. Mitchell said you need to find a C5 for a retro review. I had a 2004 commemorative coupe, 6-speed, and I loved it, but the call of the S550 was greater. Yeah, I mean, I totally can get that. C5, I want to revisit a C5 because the last time I drove a C5 was like when I was like in my BRZ, and that was my BRZ days. And I think I've matured as a reviewer a lot since then. So I'd like to give the C5 another go and kind of give an updated, thought on the C5. I mean, I like the C5 in my, original review. I just think it was lacking a little bit of the sharpness that I was used to in my BRZ. So I was kind of like, I kind of was hoping for more, I think, out of the C5, but I'd love to go back and revisit it now with the, collective experience of, the 500 cars I've reviewed since then or whatever, and try and, give a more insightful review on a C5. I think it'd be great. And so I'm hoping to get a chance to do one of those soon. We'll see if I can get my hands on one. And Saul says, I'm coming from a 2014 Chevy Cruze, so it's definitely an upgrade for the Integra Type S. That is a huge upgrade. So, and kudos to you for making the upgrade too. That's an awesome upgrade. B. Mitchell said Beth's grandpa must have had a 58 to 61. I believe it was a 58. I'm pretty sure it was. I think might have even had it in 57. It was like an early 58. Because 58 was around when Beth's dad came on the scene. So I believe it was probably a 58 for sure. Steven says, did you buy an extended warranty on the Bullet? I did not. Just because, the Coyote motor is pretty reliable. As far as knock on wood, like the AC, I believe was improved with the 2018s and newer, so that there hopefully isn't those same compressor issues like they had on the other earlier S550s for the air conditioning. So I didn't do an extended warranty on the Bullet, especially since I drive it so little. It's only got 20,000 miles on it still. I figured I'll take my chances. Hopefully it won't be, too bad. And, we will see. Hopefully, again, knock on all the wood, that it'll be fine. But I'm confident the Bullet should hopefully be pretty solid for a good long while. I'll get back to your comment, Joe, but I first want to recognize Adam. Thank you for being a member for 13 months now. I really appreciate all the support. He says maybe weekly updates could be subscriber only, encourage more people to join, then add other perks like inviting members to your house for dinner. That would be fun. I'd love to do more meetups and stuff like that. It's just that's a time thing with that kind of stuff that makes it tough. And of course, us being a global, group of people all over the world. And so, it's something. It'd be one of those things. If there was like a single event that like everyone all went to, that I could, kind of like a side meetup at, something like that, could be fun. But as far as weekly updates as a subscriber only thing, I think there would have to be a lot more members for that. And I also don't love the idea of putting things behind a paywall. If it's like an extra bonus little thing, as far as like fun little outtake videos and stuff like that, little updates, that stuff I'm comfortable with. But if it's something that, I'm sure there are a lot of people that really enjoy the weekly updates that aren't members still for whatever reason, and I mean, I get it. No one wants to have another subscription and all that kind of stuff. So I totally understand that. But, I just wouldn't want to exclude those people and make them pay to watch it. I know there's lots of things, at least, before the days of everything being free streaming, but I mean, you used to have to pay to watch stuff, I know, but I don't love the idea of putting stuff behind a paywall. That usually never goes well. So and even the membership thing, I mean, the idea of this kind of stuff, people hated the idea of, any of this stuff, and YouTube kind of normalized, memberships and all these super chats and stuff like that. But I think for a long time, people just, expected everything to be free on the internet. And I think, as far as regular YouTube videos, I still want to keep them all free. But, yeah, if there was a way I could differentiate it and do like an extra thing, one thing I am considering doing, and this is something I think I do feel a little more comfortable putting behind a paywall, is kind of a spoiler to what I was going to talk about a little bit more in next week's update. But I'm considering doing an audio only version of the weekly update, because I know a lot of people want it as a podcast, but podcasts don't make money unless you are actively going out and selling my own ads, which I've as you've seen, I've done more sponsored stuff on the channel this year, and integrated that into the weekly updates a good bit, but it's not consistent still, and certainly not enough to justify, doing a podcast that would take away views from the YouTube channel. Because again, I can't afford to take away views and cannibalize views with a podcast if people could just listen to it that way and not watch the video. But I think I may do an audio only version potentially as something, if I can try and find a way to like get an exclusive link or something to members and offer that as a perk for membership of, having that behind a paywall of audio only. That way, at least, there's still some support there financially for the weekly update. And if it's taking away a few views, it's not quite as many as if it was just like giving everyone the audio version for free. Because I know there are a lot of people that have been asking for that. So I'm trying to work towards a podcast audio version of the weekly update and doing that. So that is something. In the meantime, though, if you want to just watch or listen to the audio of the weekly update on its own, you can always, I think YouTube Premium still lets you listen to audio from a video with your phone locked, I believe. So that's a potential workaround in the meantime. But I'm trying to, figure out a way to do a podcast in a way that makes sense. It would probably just be re-uploading the audio from the weekly update. So I'd still be referring to pictures and stuff, but it would at least give you the download, give you the audio for those who don't want to, have a phone, sitting there with the audio playing, or you don't want to have time to watch the video or whatever. That is something I'm also considering. So let me know what you guys think about that. And I'll talk about that also in the update here next week and get some feedback there on, those ideas. But that's definitely one of the things I'm thinking to kind of make things more enjoyable for members here next year. And thanks so much for the idea, Adam, and for the support as well. I really appreciate it. And yeah, especially any of the members, if you're ever in town, or anyone for that matter, always try and come. If you can come to Pittsburgh around a Cars and Coffee. I was able to do that with Hugo this year, and one or two others. If you're able to come over a weekend when there's a Cars and Coffee here in Pittsburgh, it'd be great to meet up with some of you at one of those and say hi. I'm always happy to meet people at the Cars and Coffees there if you can ever make it up to Pittsburgh. But getting back to the other member questions here. I'm trying to go faster through these here, so get caught up a little bit. But Joe says, hey, Matt, thoughts on which is a better car from reliability to performance, etc. 2017 Lexus RCF for around low to mid 40s, or a Mustang GT used as well, 2017 for around mid 20s. So between those two, to me, they're pretty close. I would say the RCF is going to be the better investment, though, because they're not going to depreciate as fast. And there's some greater appeal there because, they're not making those much longer, I'm assuming. And there might be a new generation, but it's probably not going to be, as affordable. It's going to probably go up market and stuff. So I would say the RCF would be the better buy from a money standpoint. In reliability, I'd say, I'd probably put money on the Lexus as well. Not that the Mustang's bad, especially, again, the GTs I think are pretty solid. And Mustangs in general usually are pretty stout for a good long while, but I think the Lexus would potentially be even a little bit more reliable. Excuse me. And you also have a better dealer experience with the Lexus. You have less shenanigans, like you have to deal with a Ford service experience. So there's some of those things. So I would probably say the Lexus is going to be the better buy if you don't mind spending, way more money there. If you're looking for the best fun per dollar, though, Mustang is definitely gonna be the way to go for that. So hopefully that helps you a little bit there. I think, as far as, like the Mustang, you have the manual in that as an option. The 10-speed I don't actually love. I honestly think the 10-speed, I mean, it's fine. You can see in the 2024 Mustang video I just talked about, though, it doesn't upshift quick enough. That red line, it still is all over the place. It almost feels like a CVT with how much it's shifting around. It's hopping 2 or 3 gears at a time, and it's all slushy all over the place. I just want it to like hold gears and just go bang, 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 bang whenever I'm pulling the paddles or on its own. And instead, it's like it's all over the place. Still not a fan of the 10-speed in the Mustang. Supposedly it gets better whenever you own the car and you drive it. It knows what you like and stuff. Maybe it would get better, but yeah, from a reviewer standpoint, just my own experiences, at least the RCF, even though it's a slower transmission slightly, at least the RCF like holds on to gears. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it goes up, through the 8 gears, and it's just a little more natural feeling than the 10-speed in the Mustang. So bottom line, I'd probably go, Mustang is the better value, but I think Lexus will be the better long-term purchase. And also it's more desirable. It's more rare. You don't see an RCF every day versus Mustangs, so there's some stuff there. So if the money is flexible for you, I'd say I'd go for the RCF personally between those two. So hopefully that helps you a little bit, Joe. And Kyle, thank you so much for gifting 5 more memberships. I really appreciate all the membership gifting here. It's very appropriate for the holidays here. There's so many gifts being given out here this week. I really appreciate everyone, and Kyle in particular. And Kyle is, I gotta say, he is one of the MVPs here of the weekly live streams here this year, gifting basically every week. I believe it is every week, Kyle, and I really appreciate it. I'm a member for over 12 months too. I really appreciate all the support, Kyle. I'm also, my condolences that the Camaro has now ended production. Kyle is the owner of a very nice Camaro SS as well. And it's I'm sure it was a sad week for the weekly update there with a toast, Kyle, to the Camaro. But thank you so much, Kyle, for your support this year. I really appreciate it. I'm sure the dozens and dozens of members that got their memberships gifted to them by Kyle also really appreciate your generosity as well. So thank you so much, Kyle, and hope you have a great holiday season as well. Let me see other questions here. We got another half an hour. I'm going to get caught up, I promise. So sorry for everyone that's had to wait for their answers here. So Steven says, bullet in the snow. I am going to take it out in the snow because I want to show off how these new Continental tires do in the snow. So I will take it out at least once or twice. Should be interesting. Smile per Mouse says, would you be tempted to swap your MT82 with a Tremec for your bullet in several years' time? After I drove the Mach 1 this year, I was tempted. But the problem is I looked into it a little bit on the forums, and the few people that have done it, it seems like it's kind of a headache. And if you remember from my EcoBoost days, I do not have a high risk tolerance for mods causing issues. I don't have much patience for that stuff anymore. I just want to get into a car and enjoy it. I don't want to have to mess with stuff. And so I also even considered one thing before I would do the Tremec, because I don't really mind the shifter feel that much. The Tremec is certainly better, but I am not someone who really gets mad about the MT82 like a lot of other people. So I'd be fine leaving the MT82 in and just putting in what are they? I think it's 409 gears is the next step up for the Mustangs. I was really considering just doing a 409 rear end, and but that also then messes with other stuff as far as traction control stuff, and the computers being a little thrown off because they're getting different readings than they're used to. I believe there's a way to tune that. I think Forescan could maybe program that to digest that new information in a better way. But that also seemed kind of involved from what I saw a while back when I was researching that. But I think 409 rear gears would probably solve the gearing, thing that isn't an issue, but the one thing, I mean, the gears are tall in the Bullet, and I don't love that. I think I actually do from time to time miss my 2016 GT's 355 gears. I didn't even have the performance package. The 373s and that old, pre-refresh S550 was really short, which is probably even better. But I love the 355s in my 2016 GTs. And honestly, around town, that car actually felt punchier than the Bullet slightly, just because of those gears. So I think 409 gears would really probably make the Bullet even more fun. It's just, and I know people love mod videos and stuff like that, and that is one that I think would actually improve the car. It's just the time thing of having to mess with it. If I could find a really good shop, I mean, I know people that could probably put them in for me and do that. It's just, and I'm out of the powertrain warranty now, so I don't have to worry about voiding that. It's just, I'm tempted to mess with the Bullet, but I'm also tempted to not, because it really is perfect the way it is. Aside from the gears, and I just don't want to open a can of worms of like doing the gears and then, for whatever reason, something else starts going haywire for whatever reason. And I just don't, I don't know. I'm a little probably overly cautious about that stuff, but it's still, it's tempting. I'm kind of on the fence, but I think as far as the full transmission, that's a little more involved than I would want to do. Raphael says, most important question of the night. What did you get your child for Christmas? We got her a bunch of stuff. She is going to have a very fun Christmas. She's very loved, thankfully, by lots of family. So she's going to have a very busy morning, opening up lots and lots of stuff. A busy day, honestly, with all the family coming over. But the one big thing is she's asleep, but I'm still nervous about saying it too loudly. But we did get her a kitchen, which was like the number one thing she's been asking for. Every time she goes over to a friend's house, she loves playing with her kitchens and making stuff for her little baby dolls and all that kind of stuff. So we got her a kitchen here for Christmas. So that's gonna be the big exciting thing from Santa this year. So that'll be fun. So thanks for the fun question, Raphael. And it'll be fun. This is, she's she's over 2.5 now, and so it's just she's getting to that age where she's knows what's going on, she's understanding things, and it's getting, she's really excited. And so it's the magic of the holidays really comes back whenever you have a kid that is old enough now to kind of appreciate it and get into all the fun stuff with Santa and all that. It's I'm really looking forward to the next decade or so here of fun Christmases and stuff. So very, very much excited for that. But thanks for the fun question, Raphael. Steven says, I bought all seasons for the Z06. They're E-Ray tires, and the Tire Rack specifically got them for me with a discount. That's awesome. Kudos to you. And hopefully I'd be curious to see how the Z06 hooks up with the all seasons. But that's cool. You're able to get your hands on some. All right. So, and Brian also says the other thing annoying is the amount of brake dust the Brembos make on the Integra Type S. If I don't wash the car weekly, it shows on the wheels and enjoy the car. Yeah. I can see that for sure. That's something even with the Bullet. It likes to dust up a little bit. And Steven says, ever thought of going to the Corvette track across Bowling Green factory for a ride in a Z06? I actually have been to the Corvette factory. I went with Shell with a sponsored video. Can't even remember. That was probably 2017 now. It's a good long while ago. I went for a ride. They did like a track day at the track, and I went for a ride with a guy that had a modded Evo, and I did a ride along video, I think. I don't even know. If you look for like Evo track ride along or something on the channel, you'll probably find something. I think it was just like GoPros, like literally like one out, facing the track, and then maybe one on the exhaust. I think it was blowing flames out of the back. So I think I got that on the GoPro. But it was just, I think I just like filmed that, and I did I can't remember what I was there with Shell for, to be totally honest. But it was something, yeah. And so I have been there. I've been on that track as a passenger. Seems like a great track. I had a lot of fun out there, and yeah, it was really cool going to the Corvette factory. I didn't get to go like behind into the actual production facility, but I got to see, the museum and stuff. It's really cool. I'd love to go back there sometime soon too. But yeah, Evolving says, would you swap a Geo Corolla for an Evo 9? Or if you mean like if you have an Evo 9, you're going up to Geo Corolla, I'm guessing. And yes, I think the Geo Corolla is a great successor, a great follow-up to anyone who has an Evo or an STI. It's the same thing. It has the adjustable rear diff like you had in the STI. The same sharp, light handling from the Evos, the very peaky nature of the motor, just like the Evos and the STIs and stuff. I think the Geo Corolla, and that's why I think the Geo Corolla is my favorite hot hatch. I love the Integra. I love the Civic. They are phenomenal cars, and I can't say that enough. But I think me going back to my Subaru WRX fan roots, having something with all-wheel drive, you can play with the back end a little bit, having the adjustable diff, the peaky nature, objectively, in a lot of ways, it is worse than the Integra and the Civic. So, clearly, I got my rose-colored glasses on here, but if you were someone who's coming out of an Evo or something like that, absolutely. I think Geo Corolla will certainly be, it's the STI that Subaru refuses to make. That's really how I look at the Geo Corolla. It's like perfectly timed. It was like they announced that the STI wasn't coming back, and it was like a week later we got Geo Corolla. And I was like, standing ovation for Toyota. Like, it couldn't not have been timed more perfectly. And I actually talked to one of Toyota reps whenever I saw him in person after that. And I was like, did you guys know about this? They're like, no, we had no idea. But like, it was perfectly timed. It's like STI is gone, Subaru sucks. And then Toyota's here to save the day, like they've been doing with all their awesome products recently. But you know, 2 is going to be screaming from the rooftops here that I'm a shill for Toyota again. But seriously, like GR Corolla is every Evo and STI owner's perfect next car, in my opinion. I mean, I guess STI, the case could be made you just get a regular WRX with this new gen, but I think if you really love all the things that made the old STIs great and the Evos as well, GR Corolla is that in a modern package, better than anything else out there. As far as if you're someone who likes that kind of thing, for sure. And let me see. Raphael says a Mach 1 would be a dream, but cars are just too expensive now. Yeah, I totally understand. Smile from Mouse says it would be cool if Shmi came to Pittsburgh to get you to review his Dark Horse. Yeah, that would have been fun. And Shmi was in PA. Because he stopped by Street Speed 717's house and did some stuff with him. But I haven't talked to Shmi. We were drive partners on the 2020 Corvette launch for the C8. And that's the last time I think I've talked to him. We had a great time. We were drive partners all day, and he's super, super nice guy. I don't know if he just didn't remember that I lived in Pittsburgh or if I'm not on his radar anymore or what, I don't know. But yeah, I was like, oh man, he's in PA. I missed him. And you know, he moved so fast that by the time I saw he was in PA, I'm sure he was halfway across the country. But yeah, it would have been cool to have him stop by there whenever he was in Harrisburg there with Street Speed. But yeah, love to meet up with Shmi again someday soon. He's got, I mean, his dream garage. It's like that Pro Songway that he just picked up too. Like, man, that is a dream daily for me for sure. And Austin says, hey Matt, what is your channel view demographic like outside of the US and Canada? Have you considered traveling abroad to do some unique reviews or cover automotive enthusiasts holy grail locations? That would be cool. All that stuff is very expensive, and that's kind of the problem that holds me back from doing that kind of stuff. Obviously, yes, you can write it off as a business expense, but, you know, as anyone knows with tax write-offs, it doesn't mean it's free. You know, it's discounted at best, you know, as far as how much you have to pay on taxes, but it's not, you know, anyway. So that's the main reason why. Now, as far as viewer demographics goes, large majority is US and Canada. The follow-up countries are Australia, UK, and Japan, I think, are the next 3 after that. Japan, I mean, you would not have to twist my arm to go to Japan. I was so jealous of the people that got to go to the Tokyo or the Tokyo Auto Show, whatever they call it now. You know, a couple of months ago there, that would have been a dream trip for me. Of all the places, I mean, Hawaii was definitely like a high mark this year with Toyota. I've always wanted to go to Hawaii, but outside of Hawaii, I think Japan is my number one place I've always wanted to go. I think it's me being a huge fan of Japanese cars as well. Ever since I was into cars, I mean, literally Gran Turismo. I don't know if I can't see from this angle, but I still have my original copy of Gran Turismo 2 that I bought when that game first came out, you know, when I was a little kid. And ever since then, I've loved Japanese cars and just the Japanese culture, just everything. And I even, my best friend actually went to Japan. He's in the military, and he was there for a few days this year too. It's like everyone I know is in Japan this year except me. And I'm like, no, like one of these days I will make it to Japan. But that is like my dream trip. And I would love to do, you know, like a holy grail location of like, you know, just covering stuff in Japan and, you know, I guess here in 2024, we'll be able to actually get R34 GTRs here in the States legally finally. But, you know, so I guess that appeal will be less, but you get to drive GTRs and, you know, all these previously Japanese exclusive things. I would love to do a series like that. It just, and Beth also texted me, she wants to go to Tokyo Disney as well. So, you know, there'd be multiple reasons to go to Japan for sure. And she says she thinks I should have done some consulting work there to maybe try and get out to Japan. But anyway, so yeah, I would love to go to Japan. That would be fun. But as far as, you know, those trips, anything, you know, even, I mean, because especially with the view counts, to be totally honest with the views these days, that also makes it hard to even justify some of the road trips of the Bullet just between, you know, doing, you know, like just the gas, the tolls, especially here on the PA Turnpike and stuff like that. I mean, you know, some of that stuff, like if the video doesn't do well, I don't even break even on that kind of stuff sometimes, you know, so it's, and that's not even a lot of money. It's just, you know, the Bullet being kind of thirsty and then, you know, tolls not being cheap and stuff. But so I really got to make sure that I keep my costs low, you know, since I'm kind of in survival mode here on the channel. I know that kind of limits me, and I probably should like take more risks to try and break out of that. But it's also like, just trying to conserve resources here. But I would love to do some trips, and I'm hoping that maybe this year I can, or this coming year, maybe if I get some opportunities to do international trips on, if there's media drives, because there's more and more international media drives that seem to be happening. So if I ever get a chance to do something like that, maybe can stay for an extra day or two and try and cover some of the local car culture, or drive some, viewer's car in another country or something, that'd be super cool too. I tried to do a little bit, like we went to the UK back in 2018, and I did like a review of a right-hand drive Mini Cooper Clubman SD, the diesel version of the S that they have over in the UK. Did a right-hand drive review of that. That was really fun. I was excited for that, but then that video kind of bombed. So that kind of also made me be like, maybe people don't actually like to see international stuff that much, because I thought that'd be kind of exciting for my subscribers. It didn't seem to be too exciting. So there's some stuff that's given me some hesitation in the past as well, like that. But I would love to. If it was stuff that was, if it made sense financially, I probably would. But it's a fun idea for sure, and something I would personally love to do, even though it's tough to leave the family on even just the regular media drives for a couple of days. So it's, I like being close to home, but I know I need to go get on the road more to film some more exciting stuff than the usual press cars for sure. Now Steven says, I'm still loving my 21 old fashioned Land Cruiser. I know you were not much for the interior, but I love the beast. I mean, it's going to be indestructible, and it'll be, running probably longer than any of us will live. That thing's going to outlive all of us. But that's they're old fashioned, but that has an appeal with lots of people, as we've seen with the 4Runner for years and years, and Tacomas and all kinds of stuff. So, totally can appreciate that still. And Evolving says you should have two in the live stream right next to you. That would be an entertaining live stream for sure. Yeah, to do some like call-ins or something. That'd be fun for sure. And the Evinder says, have you seen the viral video of the Tesla towing that huge semi-trailer? Looks like they're driving to improve or trying to prove that Teslas can tow. I haven't seen that actually. I saw the one of it getting stuck in the snow, but with the Cybertruck there, but haven't seen the one of the Tesla towing. I'll have to check that out. And Steven says, I'll be waiting for your bullet. Don't do it. Well, I know. And that honestly, even I know, you say don't sell it, Steven, but like if it did go to you, Steven, at least I know it would go to someone who would appreciate it. And that would make me feel a lot better about it. Since I do have such a connection to it, I'd love to, sell it to someone I could keep tabs on the car still, as far as, how it's doing every once in a while, and someone who I know would cherish it, versus just trading it in. That would make me feel, pretty crappy. So yes, Steven, if I think you did send me an email eventually. If I don't have your email address, definitely send me an email. Because if it comes to that next year, you will be the first person to know about it, and I will definitely give you first dibs if it comes to that. Hopefully, again, it does not. But he also says, appreciate all you do. I appreciate all your support, Stephen, this year especially. It really means a lot. And Jazz says, if it helps to replace the weekly update with a car review, then go for it. I appreciate the support, Jazz. Austin says, I think things like a catchy intro song and drone shots and videos, etc., might add to the channel appeal for potential subscribers. I hope so. I go back and forth on that stuff. I think there are channels where you're right. It definitely has shown to help. And I think that, as we're seeing more of the Throttle House stuff and the Haggerty stuff and the Savage East stuff, I think more and more people expect that kind of stuff. And so I think you're right. But then, we also have the Doug DeMuros of the world that have no production value whatsoever and get tons of views still. So I don't, I for a long time, I viewed it as not being necessary. And Doug was kind of the prime example of why, and my prime justification of like, well, if we've got Doug quality, then like, what's the point of even trying to not like, again, his stuff's bad, but it's like, he doesn't pull out all the stops with crazy shots or anything, so like, that was always kind of my justification for not, moving the ball forward with production value, in addition to, again, just trying to just streamline stuff. And, drone shots add an extra amount of time, add extra complexity to legality of where you're shooting, because a lot of places don't like that. So you have to find places that are okay with it. And you got to be in a place where there's no one else around to, sue you if your drone crashes into their car. And there's all kinds of like extra stuff to worry about with drones. But there are some things I'm trying to, I really like the third person view people are starting to do with the Insta360s and stuff hanging off the back of the car. So there's some of that kind of stuff I may consider, investing a little bit of money into one or two new cameras. I've always loved the idea of having a drone, and that's, I think, nicer to do if you have, someone else to help you with it, or, someone that can, streamline that for you and film that while you're doing something else, or, something like that. One best justification that actually Mark from Savage Geese told me with drones, he's like, the one reason why you want a drone, if you film in a place with cold weather, he's like, I can do all of my exterior B-roll with a drone if I need to. If it's freezing cold, he can literally sit in the car and sit there and let it do the, slider shots and have it, circle the car and just do all your exterior stuff while you're nice and cozy in the car. And I was like, that might be the most compelling argument for a drone that I've heard yet, even though they're very expensive, and that'd be a big price to pay just to have the comfort of an extra 30 minutes of not being out in the cold on these cold winter days here. But a catchy intro song, though, I did do that for a long time, and yeah, I mean, maybe that was part of the appeal, but whenever I dropped that, no one really seemed to miss it. Honestly, I got more complaints about the song choices in all the videos that I had with the songs, all these years. It was mostly, I mean, very rarely did people be like, oh, I love that intro. It was usually just people being like, this music sucks, or like, they just hated it, or it was just like, oh, this is like giving them a seizure or something because it's like too sporadic and crazy, because they were really like fast paced. And I mean, that was kind of the time we're talking, 10 years ago with a lot of those. But the intros, yeah, Beth also, she's chiming in here with the text. She says, it took me a long time. And that's the thing. It took me a long time to find a good song. The extra editing of doing that. It's just, trying to, again, streamline everything here, since it's about quantity these days, less than it is quality. I've noticed that, at least personally, it seems to me like the channels, especially car review channels that do daily uploads, are the ones that grow the fastest. And I think YouTube's always really loved the daily upload thing for the algorithm. And I think viewers really like that, having something new every single day they can count on. I can't keep up with that. The channels that do that have a team that helps them do that for sure. But I think that's, if I were ever to try and do more video, I think I would try and go more streamlined, do more videos before I would try and go more with the production value. But I get, the point, because there's a case to be made for the production value being one of the reasons why the channel is declining and everyone's watching all the fancy, big budget channels instead. But it's like, I'm never going to be able to compete with those channels either. So it's like, where do you draw the line? Anyway, it's a whole rabbit hole. I appreciate the suggestion, Austin. And if you have any follow-up thoughts, I'd love to discuss it more. Because again, I'm open to anything at this point for sure. It's just trying to, work smarter, not harder, and trying to find the ways to, cut as many corners as I can, honestly, while still, doing the best thing I can, and if that means extra work, then I'm willing to do that. It's just trying to find the best path forward for sure. All right, try and get caught up on other questions here. Linda says, regardless of how the channel does, I hope that you'll still chat with us even if you decide to do something else. I feel like your family. I appreciate that, Linda. I feel the same way. Especially again this year, doing these live streams every week has really been something I look forward to. And yeah, I think no matter what, I mean, I will definitely still always have a presence on the channel for a variety of reasons. I mean, like one of the reasons is that YouTube actually says, like, if you don't post every 6 months, like, you lose monetization. And I don't want to, like, throw away 10 plus years of work of, and just let YouTube have all the ad revenue for the video. So like, I will always post at least once every 6 months, no matter what, as long as I'm living. But I mean, beyond that, I think that'd be something I want to do more live streams. I think, if I were to, swap out the weekly updates or something else, I really love the live streams. And I think that's, I can hang out here for 2 hours and, I think, these get decent views for how long they are and stuff, but I think it's, something it takes obviously no work from me aside from just having fun talking with you guys. And it's the best content I post all week, in my opinion, because it's just, us just being real here and just hanging out and having fun and, helping people that have questions, and otherwise just, talking cars. So I really love it. So I will definitely make sure that I at least keep doing the live streams, because these, aside from the time, they don't take any work. It's the one nice thing about the lives that I really love, is just being able to just be myself and talk and not have to do any of the other, behind the scenes stuff. But Vishal says, my parents bought a 2021 Highlander XLE V6 after watching your review. 3 years and 23,000 miles later. Love the car. Many road trips. The longest one was driving to Dallas, Texas from Raleigh, North Carolina, totaling 2,800 miles. That's awesome. And I'm so glad that they were able to find the Highlander. They enjoy it. And so glad that the videos help them as well. That's always, again, I love hearing that. So thank you so much for the comment, Vishal, and for being a member as well. I really appreciate that too. And yeah, Highlanders are great. Brian says, good evening. How is your night going? It's going great. Hanging out with everyone here is always a great way to end the night. And let me see. So B Mitchell says C5 would also be a good candidate for another bargain buy feature. Definitely. And even, C6s and like, I don't know if C7s have continued to depreciate as much as they were, but for a while there, when everyone was dumping their C7s for C8s, C7s were like pretty cheap. And I was like, man, that is the bargain enthusiast buy, is to pick up a C7 that's been traded in on a C8. But yeah, I'm going to see, I think I'm going to be pretty well packed this winter with content. I don't know if I'll have enough free time to do those bargain things like I tried beginning of this year. And it seemed like those kind of fizzled out pretty fast anyway. But if I have time to do some of those, that's certainly something I'd, be willing to cover as the C5s. Because it seems like there's a lot of love for those still. And excuse me, it's, it'd be a fun one for sure. Steven says maybe member photos of their cars. So I'm not sure what you're referring to there as far as what to do with the photos, but that'd be kind of cool to maybe if I'd love to get fancier with these live streams and like do like backgrounds and stuff. It'd be fun to do like a little collage of like all the member cars, maybe in the background of a live stream or something. It'd be fun. And Smile from House says, do you reckon you'll see Adam Driver's film Ferrari? I'm not going to be running out to the theater to see it. But I'm not opposed to seeing it. I just don't get the movie theaters very often. But it'd be what I'd like to see. I'll probably wait till it shows up on, a streamer and, watch it at home here. But I'm so behind on car movies. I still have not seen Ford versus Ferrari even. So, and I've heard that's like super good and has a bunch of actors I love in it. And I just, one of those ones that fell through the cracks with the madness of, a new baby, a couple of years ago and all that. I still got to get caught up on a bunch of movies. So, Ferrari is not at the top of my list, but I'm looking forward to watching it eventually, for sure. Jazz says, how do we find out when there are cars and coffee events far enough in advance? So they post the schedule usually like in the spring. It's not like a public event. Technically, they kind of want you to have a car to bring to contribute. So it's not just like showing up for a car show kind of thing. Is the way they like to package it, at least. So they don't really like publicize it too much. They do have a couple public events every year, but the regular Cars and Coffee are mostly about, you bringing a car and just being part of the community in a way. But it's like every other Saturday from usually March or April until like October. But as far as which of those weeks it is, maybe I'll try and go one of the early ones here this next season, and then I would just say every other week after that post is when there'll be a Cars and Coffee, and maybe extrapolate it because I don't know. I mean, they publicly post if you just Google Pittsburgh Cars and Coffee schedule or something, I believe it should be publicly accessible. You can see it there. And then that should have them all for the entire year. And so you can, plan out making a trip if anyone wants to make a trip. There's lots of other good things to see in Pittsburgh. So, hopefully it wouldn't just be to come to a Cars and Coffee and say hi to me. But yeah, definitely Pittsburgh's a great place. I obviously love it and been here most of my life, but it's a really cool city. Lots of fun stuff to see and do. Lots of fun things to experience, like French fries on a sandwich and all kinds of cool stuff. But anyway, so yeah, highly recommend a trip to Pittsburgh. And if anyone ever is making their way, let me know for sure. And sorry, I missed the other super chats that came in. I don't know why YouTube's not great with notifying me sometimes. But thank you so much for another super chat. It says 14 minutes. Twas the night before Christmas. So yeah, stay tuned, everyone, for Tu's last comment here at the end of the live stream for his little poem that he'll be posted up here. And Steven, thank you so much for another very generous super chat. I appreciate it. Sorry again, I missed it till now. He says, here's another chat. You can buy a daughter cake mix for the kitchen. My grandson is 7, and so we're having fun as grandparents. That's awesome. I'm sure it's a blast. That age is just it's so much fun. I'm looking forward to the next few years here for sure. And thank you again for your generosity, Stephen. I really appreciate it, and I hope you have a great holiday season with your family. And same goes for everyone. We'll go 3 or 4 more minutes here. Maybe we'll go a little over since we're having a bunch of fun here tonight. But trying to get caught up as much as I possibly can. So Steven says, could your wife do a podcast appealing to women if there was such a thing? I'm sure she, has a lot of insight she could definitely give because she's in all these cars that I'm in every week, but she usually doesn't have a ton of opinions on cars. Honestly, a lot of times it's just like, it's fine. Or, there's some things that irk her about cars and she'll include those, in the interior reviews, like, the piano black plastics and stuff like that. But, she's just kind of maxed out, with being a mom right now and doing everything, that she's doing. So, I think, I don't know how many podcasts there are with women in the car space. But that if that is something that isn't a thing yet, then absolutely, if Beth doesn't have the time to do it, someone should certainly do that for sure. Because I think that'd be a very good contribution for sure. And Kyle says, have a good Christmas, Matt, and everyone. I appreciate it. And Steven says, did you put a cash can on the Bullet for Performance Makes a snap and fit model? I did not do a cash can on the Bullets. I've never done a cash can on any car. I got close to it on the EcoBoost, but I've never done it on the Bullet. My opinion on cash cans, and this is maybe controversial, and I'm not a mechanic or an engineer, so I could be completely wrong here. But for me, if a cash can was super important, I feel like they would have put it on a car from the factory. And maybe it's just that they don't need to because it'll last the warranty period, then they don't care what happens after that. But there are some cars, I believe I believe there's some Chevy products that have cash cans from the factory. And there's been a few, but I feel like typically, just to me, like I feel like a car should come with everything that it needs. And if there's something that if your engine's going to go bad because you don't have a cash can on it, like to me, that's a shortcoming from the engineering side and something that you shouldn't have to put aftermarket stuff on your car for it to be reliable and safe and good performing. It should be able to do all those things off the showroom floor. So that's why I've never been sold on cash cans myself. And now I know they work, they do things. Whether those things are necessary, I think is debatable personally, but again, I'm not knowledgeable enough to give a good opinion on it, which is why I've never really, done a video on it or anything like that. But personally, I don't see the strong enough justification for a cash can personally, at least for the Bullet, with that having port and direct injection and all that. But two says Kyle keeps sticking people in the basement with Truck and Car Guy. Yeah, Truck and Car Guy, I guess he wasn't able to make it here tonight, but it's all good. I know, I'm sure, like I said, it's a holiday weekend. I'm honestly super surprised that we had as many people hang out here tonight as we did, and I really appreciate it. And B. Mitch also agrees about the cash can there. So I'll have to do some more research, but yeah, I don't have one. But Elijah says, what cars do you see getting killed off in 2024? I'd have to I probably have to think about that one a little bit longer, but I don't know. We will see what happens. I think that we're probably close to the end days of Supra and Z4 potentially, as far as their normal life cycle is about up. I think we will see. Maybe they'll extend it longer. I don't know, but other than those, I don't know. There's nothing else that jumps out at me as like, oh yeah, that's on the chopping block that I can think of. I'm sure there's stuff if I look through a list of cars, but I can't think of anything off the top of my head. Typically, I feel like discontinuations are usually a surprise for the most part, at least for me. But, there are some, I guess, that are pretty predictable, but I can't think of anything off the top of my head. Linda says, I have a 6-speed auto on my 17 Mustang EcoBoost, and it shifts when I expect it to based on my past experience driving a manual, just my opinion. The 6-speed is definitely better, in my opinion, actually, on those older ones. It's a little slower to shift, but the 10-speed in the newer Mustangs here from 2018 and on, I'm still not in love with those personally. I see Bronson says, are you still a Subaru WRX fan? I am a fan of, yes, Subaru WRXs, but I am not as much of a fan as I used to be. I guess I can say there's just better stuff these days. Like I said, GR Corolla and stuff that's more exciting. James says, thoughts on pricing for the hybrid models of the new Tacoma? I don't think I've seen the hybrid pricing. Or if I have, I don't think I have. I think something leaked, right, or something. I don't know, but I haven't looked, honestly. And Joe says, thanks for the thoughts on the RCF versus GT. I hope an RCF owner would be more obsessed about care and maintenance since the car is double the price of the GT, but you never know. However, I love the RCF looks. Yeah, they're great. And I think that's a safe bet as far as, the RCF having a better maintained record, So I think RCF would definitely be a solid choice. Steven says, as a kid in my 60s that my sister made me help her with those old style kitchens. Those things are dangerous, I'm sure. Just as I don't know if I mentioned, but an idea for the weekly epics, maybe make them bi-weekly or better yet, monthly. It's the same thing I mentioned earlier. Just, I feel like that would be too far behind on the news, possibly. Rafi, thanks for joining in here. He says, I drove the SI on Turo and decided that I didn't need a slower FK8. Now the hard part of deciding what to get, something rear drive or all-wheel drive, I'll patiently wait though. Yeah, there's definitely lots of choices out there. And if you need any help or you'd like to chat more, Ruffy, feel free to send me a message on Facebook. Be more than happy to try and go through some stuff with you. If you're interested in any external opinions, I'm more than happy to help. Mitchell says the boss is watching, yeah, and tell me about the tolls. It costs no less than $8 to go reasonably around Chicago. Yeah, I'm sure Chicago is probably even worse. And Steven says I have the Heritage Edition with the extra seats. And he says, all right. So nice. And all right. I think we're almost caught up here. Okay, I just loaded a bunch more stuff. So thanks for the super chat. Says I can't post it because it's too long. Bummer. Well, you can break it up if you want. I don't think I'm able to pull it up here, but I think if you can break it up, it should let you post it. And hopefully it shouldn't flag you or anything for multiple comments. So if you can break it up, that should work, hopefully. And all right, so last few while we wait for Tu's little poem here. Steven says we need to encourage friends to join. Yeah, I mean, anyone who's ever, having a friend that, needs advice on cars or is into cars, always appreciate the, recommendation of the channel. Again, there's lots of awesome channels out there these days, but always appreciate any word of mouth, recommendations there too. And Garlargo says you should keep the weekly updates. Yeah, I'll definitely try and keep them as long as I can. Brian says, I hope Merry Christmas and Happy New Year's for everybody. I'm enjoying the live streams every weekend. I'm glad you're enjoying them. And yeah, like I said, it was a great fun to, do this every week this year. And I'll be definitely planning on doing that for sure more. Joe says, quick non-car question. What phone are you currently rocking and how do you like it? Specifically in regard to the camera. Happy holidays, dude. Happy New Year. Talk soon. Thanks, Joe. I just got the iPhone 15 Pro when those came out. I really love it so far. Front camera is a little weird sometimes, a little blurry for some reason. Sometimes I don't love that. Otherwise, though, it's great. I've really been enjoying it. It's treated me well, thankfully. And so, yeah, that's what I got. And B Mitchell says I do miss the bullet throttle blip audio at the start of the weekly updates. That's something I could probably add back because I could just pop that in. I think the research was just showing that intros kind of made some people bail because they click and they immediately want to start getting the information that they clicked on the title for. And so doing a few seconds even of an intro, some people will click away like, oh, why am I seeing a car revving? I was here to click on the news of whatever this thing is. So that's kind of why I ditched that. But, I'm always open to, again, switching it up if it's something that, I won't think will hurt the channel, then, I'm more than happy to add that back for sure. Steven says for membership building, member car of the week. That'd be cool. That's a really good idea, Steven. I'm trying to think of how I would do submissions. Maybe I could just have everyone who wants to email me their car or a picture of their car. And then I would that's a really fun idea. That's totally something I could do for sure. So maybe we can do that. Anyone who's still watching here as we're over time now, but there's always links in the description there to all of my contact info. Any of you that are members, I don't think it'd be cool if YouTube let you just comment a photo. But and Beth said she'd be more than happy to put together a collage as well, or do like a member of the week kind of thing. But so yeah, anyone who's a member who's watching, if you want to send me a message on any social media or an email, whatever works best for you guys, send me a picture of your car, and yeah, we can start that here in the first week of 2024. That's a very fun, easy little thing we can add, and I think that's a great idea, Steven. Yeah, it could be really fun to just see what everyone drives, even if it's not super exciting. You don't have to have anything super impressive. Just what does everyone drive? And I think I'd be kind of curious. I'd be curious to see what everyone drives too. It'd be really fun. So thanks for the suggestion, Steven. And Austin says, happy holidays, everyone. Have a great time with your friends and family. Totally agree. And Smile from Mouse says, I like the binaural POV reviews by the Topher. His camera setup looks pretty simple once you get the audio right. But not everyone wants to be seen wearing a camera on their forehead. And I've done some POV stuff. I've done it in the Bullet and a couple others. And that's another good idea. I'm kind of risking just being a copycat with that kind of stuff. But yeah, I've talked to, the Topher and all those guys. I've watched them film those videos, on these media drives and stuff. Very easy to do. I am far beyond the point of, worrying about someone seeing me with a GoPro on my head. So I'm more than happy to do POV stuff. If that is something you guys would love to see, that is a very easy thing to do. The only problem with that is showing the speedometer, because, filming myself speeding is not something I want to really open myself up to. So that was always My hesitation was I had to drive slowly when I was doing POVs. They're a little less worried about breaking laws, on their, all those POV channels, which more power to them, but just not a risk that I really want to take. But if people don't mind me driving, the speed limit in a car, I'm more than happy to do a POV. I know that sounds lame, but that'd kind of be my only hold up there with that, because I don't want to film myself breaking the law essentially, as much as I can. At least with the reactions and stuff with the accelerations, there's like ambiguity there, like how fast am I actually going? There's no way to really prove it, really, without really doing some really fancy math, I guess. So that's always my hesitation there. But Garth Rocker says, a friend rented the new Honda Accord. Seems like a really nice car. I wonder why Honda will not offer all-wheel drive on it. Would be a great choice. I'm kind of surprised they haven't either. I think that'd be an easy thing a lot of people would really want, and everyone else is doing it. We're seeing it with the Altima, Camry, of course, the Legacy. I'm kind of surprised they've waited this long. I'm guessing they'll do it at some point, but they've waited this long, so maybe they'll just hold out forever. I don't know. And we now got Sonata with all-wheel drive, so the pressure is heating up. So maybe there will be an Accord all-wheel drive someday. We'll see. Smile per Mile says, hope you and your family have a great Christmas and New Year's. You guys as well. I really appreciate it. Goth says the Ford 10-speed automatics, you have them for a month. They learn your driving habits. Okay, I'm happy my Continental has the reliable, proven 6-speed auto, so smooth. Two says, Matt, are you able to pull it up and read it? Yes, I don't think. He says, can't post it. Sorry, unless Matt doesn't mind using his phone to read it. My phone is actually is what I'm using to do this live stream. I do those with the iPhone here, so I'm not able to. And Omar's asking best third row SUV of the year. I'd say my favorite is Toyota Highlander, Grand Highlander. Grand Highlander is definitely the best. Austin says blur the speedo in the post. I could blur the speed for the POVs. That's a little bit of extra work, but especially with a moving head, because I got to keep, it's you got to follow the speedometer there. But I could do that. That's not impossible. I've done that before. And that's something I could definitely do. If people really want to see me do a lot of POV stuff next year, I'm more than happy to do that, because it's easy. It's, again, basically a one take, just splicing stuff together, no B-roll, no editing. That would be definitely make my life easier if I could just get away with doing POVs all the time. I'd be more than happy to do that if that's something people would like to see. So, but yeah, I think we have actually caught up here for the. There's a couple others I just saw came in about PA Turnpike being expensive, and Goth Rocker says, what car are you looking forward to next year? My top cars, I think, for next year are going to be the new Charger. I'm excited to see what they do with that. I'm excited about, the exhaust pipes on an EV. That sounds intriguing. I'm interested in the stuff that's going to be taking chances and going and pioneering new things, the Ioniq 5, and I'm really excited to test out, having shifting and all that in an EV. I think it's gonna be really a different experience as a reviewer who drives everything for the most part, and I'm used to all the usual stuff that's out of the ordinary. It's the stuff that I am the most fascinated by. So like the out of the ordinary stuff, like exhaust pipes on an EV and shifting on an EV. Not like I'm excited about only EVs next year, but I'm curious about that. I'm just curious to see if the Dodge Charger gets the Hurricane 6 motor, how that plays out and what that's like. I think those are going to be my biggest. I think those would be the biggest ones of the year for me, is Ioniq 5 and Charger possibly. There could be some other surprises as well. We'll see what ends up happening, but I think those are my top two that I know of right now that I am excited for. So, all right. Well, I think, we can wrap up. Goth Rocker says POVs I'd only do on special cars. I don't think it's needed on crossovers. I can see that, but I also think there's some people that like seeing like a virtual test drive, even of regular stuff. But I think, for the fun stuff, it'd make more sense for sure. I see Decepticon says, please keep the weekly updates. I will definitely try. We will see. That's another one. That one I could definitely use the recommendations. If you have friends that are into cars that like staying up on car news, if we can get the weekly updates to a consistently higher level of viewership every week, then that would certainly help go a long way to justify keeping them around for sure. But whenever they're getting 6,000 views, that's not worth 2 days of work for that. So that's kind of the struggle there. But anyway, thank you all once again. I hope you have a great holiday here. Merry Christmas to those of you who celebrate. For those of you who celebrate other holidays, happy holidays, all of you. Hope everyone has a safe and happy and healthy New Year. Please be safe out there. These are some of the riskiest weeks of the year to drive. So definitely be safe out there with your driving. Be safe out there watching out for everyone else and their crazy driving. Hope we all have a safe, happy, healthy holiday here. And stay tuned. I will have, like I mentioned earlier in the live stream here, a surprise review on Tuesday of a car I was not expecting to review that just popped up. That'll be a fun, out of the ordinary, older performance vehicle. I'm excited to post that up and the last weekly update of the year here. We're doing a top 10 of my personal favorite reviews of this year. And so stay tuned. 2 more videos here to come this year. And then I'll see you guys, though, on the live stream here in the first week of 2024. First Sunday there, we will get back to doing the regular live streams. And should be a great year. I got a lot of fun stuff lined up here, a lot of fun ideas for new things. And I'm excited to add in those member car of the weeks and the behind the scenes stuff here we'll be doing. Should be hopefully a good year. We'll hope for the best for the channel, and hope you guys will have a great 2024 here as well. It's hopefully it'll be a good one for all of us. And anyway, thank you all so much for watching and for all your support this year. I can't say it enough, but thank you so much for a great last live stream here. It's been so much fun hanging out with all you guys, and have a great holiday here. Thank you all very much for watching here. I'll see you guys on the next one. Take care. Have a great rest of your 2023.